right in the front row so we can shoot spitballs at them. We'll keep going.
Turn it on here, and we get ready to proceed with our meeting. Always want to welcome each and every one of you to our meeting tonight. I try to set this agenda in light of who I think needs to go to bed the earliest in a given night. So some of you all say you like to go to bed about 8 o'clock, so I try to see if I can put you on the agenda early on, and for those late night owls, I'll put you on about 10 o'clock. So want to welcome all of you all here. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you to maybe at least put it on silence or vibrate, or if you need to use it, please just step out. We have a pretty lengthy agenda tonight, so we'll try to work through it as best and quickly as we can. We have a couple council members look like are absent this evening, so when we call a roll call, we'll take that into account. But as always, we always like to stand and say pledge of allegiance to our flag. For the military who are fighting throughout the world, we always want to remember them. And those who have served, if you heard this week, since 2001, the war in Afghanistan against the Taliban has come to an end. Isn't that unbelievable that that war is concluded after 19 years of fighting with the Taliban? They signed a peace treaty just this past weekend, and if you recall what took place back in those days of the Taliban and probably how many soldiers we've lost since then, that is a huge ending of a conflict. So I think we remember those who gave their life for that cause. So with that being said, why don't we stand and say the pledge of allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know if any of y'all ever have seen Gene Crady do his pledge to this flag, but it's something to see, and how he talks about the red, white, and the blue in this flag. How many of y'all have seen him do that before? It's very fascinating in what he can remember and how he talks about this flag, and I've asked Gene to come to a future meeting to do that for us, and he said he'd be glad to. With that being said, I'd like for Madam Stephanie Cooper to call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Ray.
Here.
Mary. Leslie.
Here.
Joe.
Here.
Elsie. Andrea.
Here.
Bill.
Here.
Debbie.
Okay, I think we have 6 members present. That's a quorum. So with that being said, I'll call this meeting to order. The council, you have an agenda before you. Any questions with the agenda, any corrections or you'd like to add to it, any deletions or anything you'd like to add to the agenda for tonight? If nothing, I'll entertain a motion that the agenda be approved as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Joe Davenport, second by Leslie Wright. Any discussion on the motion? If not, those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, you also have before you your February 3rd minutes. We've had these minutes for a number of days here, so if it's okay with the council, I'll just add that we delete the reading of those minutes, but if you do need a chance to look them over, to maybe ask any questions about them, you're welcome to. If not, when you are ready, I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Leslie Wright, second by Joe Davenport for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor of my motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Once again, you have your financial reports before you. If you would like to look at any portion of the finances, if you look at first at the bank accounts and all of our different accounts within the city, so you fully can understand those or ask any questions in regards to our account balances at any given institution or any special accounts that we have here, you're welcome to do so at this time. In conjunction with that, if you look at your account balances, I'd also ask you to look at your payables. We have like 3 pages of payables tonight, and would anyone have any questions or concerns or issues with any of the payables that have been made thus far in this balance sheet tonight?
I just had a question. In our February meeting, we passed Resolution 2 to open a bank account at Farmers Bank for the tourism tax, and I'm not seeing it on the list. Is it just not there? Okay.
It will be on there next month.
That is a valid question, Andrea. I will say, my recollection, what has been deposited and forwarded to the Tourism Commission from Stephanie, our city clerk, is somewhere in the neighborhood about $25,000. And I don't know exactly what the account balance is tonight, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000. Okay, you have your bills in front of you. Are there anyone wishing to ask a question about the payables? Then you also have your statement of revenue and expenditures through February 29th of 2020. That's a tracking of what we try to do to see perhaps where we are at any given time of the month or the year. And we will be watching those very closely next month or two as we approach our budget time, and we will try to do our best to estimate what yet is to come in and what yet is to be spent. So we will try to have a close approximation of how much money we will spend for the year and also how much revenue will be taken in order to get ready for our next 2020-21 budget. So if anyone has any questions about that financial piece, you're welcome to ask that. If not, I'll entertain a motion that these 3 documents be approved as presented.
Motion to approve the financials.
Motion made by Joe Davenport. Is there a second? Second by Leslie Wright. All those in favor of the motion, they be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, as always, we're moving right along. We have a chance for anyone to come tonight to speak during public comment to the city council. Is anyone here tonight that would like to speak to the council at this point in time? You're welcome to come and talk about any matter that concerns you. If there's an issue with you within our city or out of our city, you're always welcome to come up here and speak for at least 4 minutes. And if this council wants to extend your time, they're welcome to do so if they need to listen to you more. Anyone here tonight for public comment? Okay, no one's coming for that. Moving right along. We have Miss Sandy Folks here tonight. She's from director of our Main Street downtown, so she's here to speak to the council about all her many activities.
And there are a bunch, let me tell you. So, first and foremost, our monthly Main Street Merchant Meeting will be tomorrow morning. It's at 8 a.m. at City Place, so we're looking forward to that. We have a good turnout, and we got a lot going on, so we'll try to keep it moving quickly. The main thing we're working on right now is the World War II Homefront celebration. That's happening over Memorial Day week. That's a week-long, basically week-long activities with things happening Wednesday through Saturday. We'll start with a restaurant crawl, a dine hop, if you will, with the restaurants on Main Street and in LaGrange on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we have an opening at Gallery 104. On Friday night, we have a community picnic, and Saturday, of course, is the big event with the unveiling of the sculpture at the History Center. So a lot of things going on in celebration of that. We'll be decorating, of course, very Americana themed, very appropriate theme throughout town. On that, we're looking at banners and bunting and flowers and flags and special displays and interactive things happening up and down Main Street and throughout town with bands, with swing music, with World War II movies playing, with honoring Gold Star families and displays in each one of the participating shops along Main Street as well. So that's going to be a great big event. Lots of moving pieces with that. Right now, tickets just went on sale too for our Blue Hydrangea Tea. That's on April 26th from 1 to 5. I am thrilled to say we have Baptist East back on board as our major sponsor for that. We also have 6 new participants already this year, and we will be having a pop-up with Sisters Tea Parlor on Main Street that day, serving all their specialty teas and goodies. So we're looking forward to that as well. Some of the other projects we're working on for 2020, rolling out our new Main Street website, our event and program sponsorships, a lot of things included in that, business and incentive programs, our Friends of Main Street program, and as of today, we have $8,500 worth in new sponsorships for our events for this year. So we're thrilled with that. That's going to go a long way to really supporting these events and growing them and making them bigger and better for us. On the recruitment front, I'm thrilled to announce that Jody Curry has been added to our board of directors. So she'll be joining us as of Saturday, actually, when I talked to her. So that's a great addition to our board of directors for Main Street. Let's see, we're working on 4 grant opportunities and actively pursuing 5 new people to recruit them to come to Main Street to open stores. As far as events, we've got 16 events in the works right now, some of those being Blue Hydrangea, of course the Farmers Market, Trackside Market, Small Business Saturday, Trackside Tunes, Arts Fest, which will be the new event in June on the 4th and the 5th. And we've already got 2 sponsors solidified for that, 2 major sponsors, 4 food vendors, and I believe it's 10 to 12 vendors already paid and asking for spots right on Main Street for that show. So we're looking forward to that. It should be a big draw for us. We'll also, of course, be doing Halloween Mania, Light Up Grange, Iron Man Festival, and then our ghost tours and our ghost stories. So we're looking to expand those this year as well. From a social media perspective, our page reach in February was 77,400 people who heard about LaGrange, took the time to click and really look at what we're doing and look at how we're growing and the things that are happening in our little town. We are up 77 Facebook followers to 6,500, and our Instagram followers and our Twitter followers have grown as well by about 18 to 25 on each one of those. So that's the long and the short of it, because my bedtime's what time? 8 o'clock? So I don't want to hold you up. Questions or anything I can do for you all?
Anyone have a question or comment for Sandy? You're talking about the unveiling of a sculpture. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? What's that about?
That is actually,
and this is all in cooperation with the History
with the
Center
History
doing this,
Center,
correct?
Exactly. And it's all tied into the 75th celebration of World War II. This was actually a sculpture that is done. It is a bronze, I'm going to say bronze, Nancy would kill me if I'm wrong on that, a bronze sculpture that they have had cast for the Road Warriors project. So it's actually a cast of the motorcycle that was used to promote that. They'll have speakers that day from Gold Star families, local families, and veterans from World War II, and unveil that. I believe it's at 1 o'clock on that Saturday that they'll unveil the sculpture.
Okay, social media, talking about Main Street, Kentucky, LaGrange. What's your, how would you like to respond to anything about what's being said about our Main Street ideas, our vacancies? What do you need to be saying to the general public on TV that being said somewhat otherwise, and how we're dealing with things like that?
Well, it's always an ongoing process. I think that, and we've talked about this many times, I think that we are on a tipping point right now. There are so many big, exciting things going on. There will always be attrition. It's very interesting to me that people tend to, and I shouldn't say all, but some people tend to really go to the negative side of things rather than see the positive side of things. As I look at our growth, we had a business more than double in size in the last 3 months and moved to a new space. We had, gosh, since I've been here, since July, we've had 5 new businesses. We've had 1 expand. Our revenue reported this year was off the charts. So it's interesting to me as it's the glass half full or half empty. I look at what we're doing and the improvements we're making have to be done It's tough, but we buckle down and we get it done. That's how we grow. If we continue to do nothing, there will be no growth. So I look at, and I think as you look at the sponsorships and the changes that we're doing and that influx of new people and new ideas, it's always going to be tough, but we buckle down and we get it done. I think that the improvement in the tracks is a great plus. It looks so much better. It's safer. We don't have to worry. The buildings and the renovations and the things that I see happening in the buildings are always a positive. But
Okay.
it's just one of those growing pains, I think, and you know, they always say, somebody said to me the other day, well, it'll get worse before it gets better. And I thought, well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that it's a challenge. We buckle down and we get it done. We grow and we learn.
Well, we're also hearing from other towns and cities that are facing the same challenges we are with vacancies, buildings in certain types of disrepair, things like that, and what they're doing as city and city initiatives coming from the city and our economic development strategies, things like that, that they're actually working in concert with like startup ideas, you know, those different terms are used as far as, I can't think of all of them right now, but there's just a lot of ideas going out there through Main Street programming that you're a part of that, you know, probably as a city, we probably need to be looking at some of those types of thought processes in terms of how you deal with some of these issues facing small town America, you know. And we, you know, I think we're doing well compared to some cities, and so we just got to keep trying every day of the week to get it done.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to look at some of these things. You know, other cities have faced this as well. It's not just us. But I think what's really interesting, and I applaud the council for looking at these as new ways to do business. Business models are changing, we know that. Main Street, it's almost like the swing of the pendulum, I think. You know, everybody likes to be local, they like to buy local, they want to feel important. They also want it to be quick and delivered to your door. I'm a firm believer that that's how you win. You have to be unique, you have to be different, you have to have a good business plan, and we have to make sure that the people who come in to do business with us, we make it easy to do business with us, and we give them incentives and we help them along the way. That's where so many of these programs, as I said, working on these grants and these funding projects, that's where they come from, is looking outside the box, because the whole retail model has changed. It's not what it was 10 or 15 years ago. So we have to adapt and grow with that. Part of that is business incentives. Part of it is making everything pretty, making it clean, making people want to come in, being engaged, being, I say a global force, and I really mean that. To get, you know, how do we leverage what we have with the trained people? I mean, there are people, Joe, you know, we talked about this a couple months ago, how many people are watching the train cam. We need to leverage that and get those folks to come in here and spend a couple days, eat in our restaurants, enjoy what we have to offer. It's just stepping up our plan and knowing that we've got to have that balance between people coming in from out of town and residents as well, and striking that balance for our business owners.
WDRB was out here this afternoon. They evidently seen our agenda on the website, and they were asking questions about our rezoning hearing tonight, and did we expect any huge controversies over that? And I said I didn't think so. It's something that the city initiated, and we'll talk about it later, but they just wanted to see, they thought it was a pretty unique idea to try to initiate that, so they were going to wait later tonight to see the outcome of that, but they were here to talk about it today, so we'll see how it goes later tonight.
Right, and I think everything that I've heard from the residents and from folks that would be involved in that is that they love the idea.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a chance for growth and expansion.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. If no one else has any things for Sandy, she can be excused, but I think you have one comment here.
I just have a quick comment. It's kind of anecdotal considering, you know, there was stuff in the paper, there's been stuff in social media about the impact of the trains on business on Valentine's week. And I just want to say my business is not directly on Main Street, but we're considered the Renaissance District. We're just off of Main Street. We actually had record revenues that week for Valentine's week. So I think when you poll all of the businesses on Main Street, and maybe not 2 or 3, you would get a wider capsule of what happened that week in terms of business. And I just want to say for my business sake, it was a good thing, and we did really well that week. So thank you for your efforts, everyone who brought business out that week, because it was appreciated.
Well, and I will say, I think that the merchants and the people involved really did a great job in watching, especially, we talk about social media, that's where it's at, that's the quickest way to get to people. There was not a day that at least 4 to 5 people were not putting out information. And I applaud the city, I applaud the police department for getting that information out there and getting accurate information out there so that we could direct people the right places to be and say, walk a block or 2 maybe, park around the corner. And the merchants did a great job in feeding that information, as did I think all of our social media outlets. So.
Well, the end of this thing, as far as Main Street goes, our downtown and surrounding properties, Jim Urban, Sandy, myself, a couple property owners downtown, and met last Saturday morning, just trying to figure out how to keep pushing on economic development ideas, and had some great dialogue. So hopefully soon we'll push some of those discussions out there. And so we're not sitting every day just hoping something happens. We're trying to deal with the issue if there are issues. And like you said, there's a lot going on in downtown, and will be more so. So thank you very much, Sandy. Appreciate you being here, and you're welcome to be excused.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is a very exciting person, Ms. Donna Sabo. She's chairperson or executive director, chairman. Did you think? Excuse me? Okay, I'm sorry. Won't you have a seat and let's go to LaGrange Utilities? I didn't know if you were I didn't think you were part of the utilities, but
I didn't know anything about
maybe someday you will be.
Okay.
So, okay, we have our LaGrange Utilities report in front of the council. As every month, we have that before you. So, Ted is here tonight, Ted Chisholm, Roy Horton, Elsie Carter from the appointment to the Utility Commission. So any one of you 3 want to bring attention to the report before the council? If not, we'll accept the report. I always try to get a motion to approve this report, and have you seen it? It's in the record. So does anyone have any questions of either Roy Horton, who's the chair of the Utility Commission, or Ted Chisholm, executive director, or Elsie Carter?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I had to see this in the paper, that they're looking for a new director. How come I had to read this in the paper, and being a city council person, nobody informed me of this?
I have no idea. Bill, Mayor, you know?
I'm assuming you're retiring, Ted, or are you taking another job?
In our December meeting, I put in my notice of retirement in August of this year. And then we've been working on it, and last month, they approved the new qualifications for a new director, and then I put it in the paper.
Well, you're going to be missed.
And I don't know about that, Bill.
Oh, I think you
Bill, a
will
lot of
be.
people will throw me out.
But my complaint is that I don't know if there was anybody on city council that were informed about this.
Well, the only reason I know it, Bill, because I still attend all the Grange Utility Commission meetings. I had missed probably since former Mayor Elsie Carter put me on there in 2010. I probably only missed, I can count them on one hand, the amount of meetings I've missed. And I've still attended them the whole time I was mayor, and I still attend them, and that's the only way I knew about it, Bill.
All
So
of city council should have been notified somehow.
And you didn't hear from me because I have been actively trying to change his mind because I think we're losing a very good person. I don't mind saying that in public. He is I don't think we can find a better person.
The reason it was never put on that report, Bill, and that, you can blame it on me or whoever you want to, because we was trying to draw up the new qualifications to meet a director, and they was just approved last month in our meeting by my commission, and then after that, they asked me to put it in the paper. So I did put it on, as soon as they approved it, I put it in my report here to the council. But I did announce my intent to retire in December.
Thank you.
Any more questions for anyone? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Please reconsider.
Okay, who would like to make the motion to approve their report to the council tonight?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Leslie Wright, second by Elsie
Okay.
Carter. Any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Now, Donna Sabo.
Yes, sir.
She's the
Hi.
chairperson of our Tourism Commission.
Yes.
Welcome tonight.
Thank you. Short and sweet tonight. We, some things that LaGrange Tourism is working on. We're putting together quotes. We've asked for bids for a marketing plan for our website, social media, someone to handle all the marketing aspect of LaGrange Tourism. We asked for 3 different bids. 2 responded. Both of these companies are in LaGrange, which is very important to us. We definitely want to do business with people here in LaGrange, and we'll be, at our next meeting, we'll be going over all the details, and hopefully we'll get something going in the very near future for that. Also got a report today, and all the hotels paid for the month of January. So that was a nice thing to see, and thank you for getting that report to us today. I'm excited
So
about
all
that.
of them reported and
All
paid
of
for
them
the month
reported
month
for
of
the month of
January?
January, yes, sir.
Okay.
So, the income for the month of January was 6,200, a little over 6,200. So,
Good.
that was
Good
really
month.
good news. So, I think we do have, though, we still had in the month of December 3 not pay, and then in October we had 2 not pay. So some of them are still behind, but we are receiving the income. Other thing we're working on is a description for our director, hopefully in the near future. So we've worked hard on looking at what we want and what we need for our director. So in the near future, we'll have a list, if anyone applies for the position, we'll have a list of the qualifications that we expect. So anyone have any questions?
Donna, when is your next meeting?
March, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. It'll be at 5 o'clock at the Welcome Center.
You've said publicly your 3 main items that you're all sort of pushing and promoting as for tourism, your 3 key components of your tourism efforts. What were they related to and are based around?
Sure. We're looking at 3 different, we're looking at trains, the kindness capital of Kentucky, and art, which I think is very important for our city. We need some art pieces, and we'd love to be a part of that. So that's that's the direction we're going. We also are earmarking money for facilities, and also money for, in the future, if we want to bring a convention to town, if we're interested in something like that, then we're going to have funds for that. So those are some of the things we're working on.
Okay, go ahead, Andrea.
Donna, speaking of the art aspect, can you mention about the CSX boxes and what the commission approved in that regard?
Yes, Sandy has all the details, but we did approve for the CSX boxes on Main Street around the courthouse. There's 3 of them, I believe. But they're
2.
2, okay. They are going to be covered with art. They're going to be, they're really going to look nice. So that tourism did pay the funds to have that done. We hope to have it done here early spring.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, we're working also on a T-shirt campaign for our city, a T-shirt campaign earmarking us the kindness capital of Kentucky. So that's something that I'll probably talk to you all about next month.
Cool.
Any questions?
So somebody's designing a T-shirt based on kindness capital. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So, all right. Thank you all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, tonight we have with us Kevin Fisher. I think most of you all, at least the folks have served on the council, been part of, well, I guess you were here last year. Yeah, you were here last year. We've all met Kevin Fisher. You all familiar with Kevin. He's with RFH Consultants. Kevin is our auditor, part of this audit firm, and he's been here in the city for, he hadn't been here this week, but he was here for a week or so or better a few weeks ago. And then Stephanie and Heather have had a lot of discussions with Kevin over the months of this year. And so, Kevin, welcome to the council tonight. And I know you've got a lot of figures in your book here, and I understand that, but certainly, hopefully you can present it to the council so they can have a clear understanding of how the city has operated for this past fiscal year 18, last half of 18, and the first 6 months of 19. That's what this is based around. Last half of 18, the first of 19.
Right.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. Each of you have in front of you a green-bound book, and you have a letter. There is, within the green-bound book, there's two reports. There's an audit report, which is the audit of the financial statements, and there is a report on internal control for the city's internal controls related to their finances. There is, as you can see just by looking at the thickness of the book, a ton of information. I'm going to attempt to cover what I think are the most important things and the things that I think that are noteworthy, but certainly not everything. So if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. What I'm going to do is start from the front and work to the back as quickly as I can. So if you can start right after the table of contents is the independent auditor's report. The first paragraph says report on the financial statements. And if you read that paragraph, it says, we have audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Grange, Kentucky, as of for the year ending June 30, 2019. Within that statement, I wanted to point out a couple things. What encompasses the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information. The governmental activities, when you hear governmental activities, that is referring to the general fund, the road fund, the foundations and parks fund, the ABC fund, and the bus fund, which are going to be presented later in this book. Whenever you see the reference business type activities, that's referring to two things. That's referring to the golf course and the Utilities Commission. The Utilities Commission has a separate audit, the Utilities Commission has a separate audit which was completed on September 30th of 19. However, their numbers are included in this audit report because the Utilities Commission is a component of the city. The golf course is a component of the city as well and is included in this audit report as well. So I just want to draw attention to those things. When it says each major fund, there's only one major fund of the city, that's the general fund. And the aggregate remaining fund information, that's the other funds. That's the road fund, the foundations and parks, ABC, and bus fund. The second part of this report that I wanted to talk about is at the very bottom of the first page where it says opinions. It says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Grange, Kentucky, as of June 30, 2019. What that means is that's a clean audit opinion. That means that in our opinion, all the numbers that follow this report, we believe are fairly stated in all material respects. So we're expressing an opinion on the financial statements. So when it says what the net income is, or what cash is, or what debt is, what the city's capital assets is, that's what we're saying. We're saying in our opinion, all the numbers all the numbers that follow, we believe are fairly stated in all material respects. That's not to be confused with the internal control report that's later in this book that talks about the city's controls over finances. Okay? The rest of the report has other information in it, talks about the auditor's responsibility, the city's responsibility. That verbiage year over year hasn't changed much, so I was not going to cover much more than much else. Directly after the report on page 3 is the management's discussion and analysis. This is technically the city's report, where the city has an opportunity to point out certain things year over year, you know, what the performance of the city's finances were in this fiscal year versus the prior fiscal year. I'm not going to cover this report other than to say that we have read it and are in agreement that the numbers and the figures in the management and discussion analysis we believe are accurate and agree with the audited financial statements that follow it. Okay, so that is pages 3 to 7. So if you will turn to it's pages 3 to 9, 3 to 10. If you will turn to page 11, page 11 is the beginning of the city's financial statements for fiscal year 19. So that is for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2019. So this is the city's finances at this point in time for fiscal year 19. As I see familiar faces, and as you all, if you've been around and you've seen these reports, you will know that there's 2 separate sets of financial statements that the city is required to issue. And that's under governmental accounting standards that requires it. There's this first statement where it says statement of net position, and the statement of activities, which is on the next page, is a full accrual set, is a set of financial statements on full accrual. What that means is it's showing your financials as if you were a for-profit entity. It's showing all the city's capital assets. It's depreciating the city's capital assets and showing depreciation expense. It's showing the city's long-term debt. It's showing the city's net pension liability and net OPEB liability. It's showing the city's finances as if it were a for-profit business. Governmental accounting standards require that these statements be presented in this way. Beginning on page 13, there's another set of financial statements that's on an entirely different basis of accounting. On page 13 and 14, there's a set of financial statements reported under the modified accrual basis of accounting. Governmental standards requires that these statements be presented in this fashion. And the difference is these statements do not present capital assets of the city and depreciate those assets. They do not show long-term debt as a liability. These statements show every time the city makes a debt payment, it shows it as an expense. It doesn't record the liability when the city takes on debt. If the city buys a police cruiser for $50,000, or that'd probably be too high, for $30,000 or $40,000, it's simply an expenditure on these financial statements. It's not an asset. So there's 2 separate sets of statements on separate bases of accounting. And in the footnotes that follow, it talks about it, what those differences are. So I wanted to be sure to point that out, because these statements, if you're going between them, they can be very confusing when some of the numbers aren't matching up. You're thinking, well, that doesn't look right. There's a reason, and it's because they're on a different accounting basis. On page 11, if you could shift back, I just wanted to point out those differences quickly. You'll see the governmental activities heading, and you'll see the business type activities heading. So this is showing you the statement of net position is in effect the city's balance sheet, and it's breaking out separately, as required, the governmental activities of the city and the business type activities of the city. So as I mentioned earlier, the business type activities column has the utility commission and the golf course lumped together on this page. So everything down that column it doesn't have them broken out separately. It has them lumped together. for the Golf Course and Utilities Commission. It does break it out later on a separate schedule on page 15, which I'll cover here in a few minutes. It does break out for you the Utility Commission and the golf course, so you can see, well, what is the cash for the Utility Commission? What is the cash for the golf course? How did the golf course do? How did the Utility Commission do? Well, on this first page, it's lumping them together. On this first page, on page 11, governmental activities, this is everything other than the Utility Commission and the golf course. This is the general fund. This is the bus fund. This is the ABC fund. This is the Foundation and Parks Fund. It's putting them all together in one column to show you the total assets of the city for all of those together. So a couple highlights on this page. Cash is up year over year, about $600,000. You'll notice a new line item for the governmental activities that the city didn't have in the prior year, and that's investments. The city took $2 million out of cash and invested in CDARS program to earn higher interest and have their money invested in CDs that are fully covered by FDIC insurance coverage. So there's a new $2 million line item in this current year that didn't exist in the prior year. The city's capital assets are up $2.2 million, which is the biggest part of that increase is during the year the city accepted roads into its system, and governmental accounting standards requires that when you bring roads into your system, you value them, you record them as an asset, and then you depreciate them over time and expense them as they wear, because eventually then you're going to have to replace or maintain and repair those roads. So it does go up $2.2 million in that capital assets, but a big part of that was the city accepting roads into its system this year. As I've discussed and you are familiar with, you're required on this set of financial statements to report your net pension liability and your net OPEB liability. OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits, and it's defined, and there's a footnote later that I'll show you that explains what that is. But that is the unfunded portion of the it's the unfunded piece of the insurance part of the CERS retirement system. So the city is required to show on this set only once a year, not your regular monthly packets that you're looking at. Once a year, the city is required to present that number so that users of your financial statements, banks or whomever that might be have an interest in the city's financial, know what that number is. Okay, the net impact, there's pieces to this. There's deferred inflows, there's deferred outflows, and then there's the actual liability. The impact on the city's financial statements for fiscal year 19 was about $739,000 that it hit the city's bottom line on this full accrual set of financial statements. So it was a $739,000 hit on the next page when I talk about what your net income was. But that was not a cash outgo. The city's exposure to the net pension liability, from what we hear, see, talk, in our opinion, is the contribution that the city has to pay into the system for its employees, which right now you might be familiar with is at a 12% increased cap up through fiscal year 28, I think. So from a budgetary perspective, your all's exposure, as you could probably expect, that rate's going to go up for 12% of what it is now every year, depending on if they make any changes to that. On the next page, on page 12, I mentioned previously the statement of activities. This is the full accrual. So this is basically saying full accrual accounting, debt, capital assets, depreciating capital assets, picking up the pension liability, everything. What was the city's net income? How did it do? What was its financial performance for fiscal year 19? And the answer at the bottom, it says change in that position. Under governmental activities, it has the columns again. It has governmental activities. It has business type activities. Under governmental activities, it says change in net position, $3,812,017. So that is in effect net income of $3,812,017 for the governmental activities. That's not the golf course or the utility commission. The golf course and utility commission combined had a net change in net position of $471,028. That's a big number for the governmental activities. There's two pieces that drove that. One is picking up $2 million in assets for the roads that were accepted into the city system. That's a big piece of that number. Another piece of that number is the city elected to pay an additional $1 million down on its debt that was in addition to what was required. So that goes into that number. So those are the two biggest pieces to why that's at 3.8 million for an increase. If you'll turn to page 13, this is the set of statements I was mentioning to you that is on a modified accrual basis of accounting. It has the general fund separated. The general fund is considered a major fund, so it's required to be presented separately so everyone can see what the general fund's activity was for the year. The other funds are not required to be presented separately, so they're lumped together. However, on page 57 and 58, it breaks down those funds for you. So they're not required to be presented separately here, but if you want to see, well, how did the bus fund do? How did the road fund do? How did the ABC fund do? That information is provided to you on page 57 and 58 so that you can see it. I mentioned earlier in the general fund, the cash went up $600,000, which was good. That was in addition to an additional $1 million being paid down on debt, which was good. The non-major governmental funds show on the next page, on page 14, a decrease in fund balance or net income of $126,000. That was, in my opinion, what I can tell by design. The ABC fund had additional funds that were not expended that were budgeted this year to be spent, as did the road fund. Additional road work was budgeted and paid for, and so that resulted in that net change of fund balance being a negative. Typically in the non-major governmental funds, the way those are set up, you're not going to see a net income, you're going to see a break even. You know, the bus fund's just going to cover its expenditures, same with the road fund and that kind of thing. On page 15, I mentioned previously, this breaks out the utility commission and the golf course for you. I'm going to focus on the golf course. The utility commission's audited financial statements were presented to the utility commission and went over in detail. And there's a separate report. And we took the numbers from that report and we've put them into the city's financials because they are considered a component of the city. So focusing on the golf course today, on this set of financial statements, you can see the golf course's cash, you can see its capital assets, and you can see its total net position. There's no net pension liability or OPEB liability for the golf course because the golf course does not have an employee that participates in CERS, the County Employees Retirement System. So that's why that's 0 for the golf course. On the next page, it shows you the revenues and expenditures for the golf course for fiscal year 2019. These statements are on any time you have a business type activity. Governmental accounting standards requires it to be on a full accrual, so showing debt, showing capital assets, everything that I was mentioning. So the golf course for fiscal year 19, its revenues were $454,000. That was a slight decrease from fiscal year 18. That's about a $16,000 drop from fiscal year 18. So a little bit less of a year. However, expenses, they also dropped expenses by about the same amount. So the revenues were down, the expenses were down, so they ended up about the same place there. If you're on page 16, it starts with operating revenues and then it goes to operating expenses. Then there's non-operating, which is interest. And if you go down, there's a column there that says transfers in. That number's $277,077. Transfers in is from the general fund to pay the golf course's debt. So what the set of financial statements is showing you, it's showing you the transfers from the general fund to cover the golf course's debt. So the golf course shows a change in net position of $209,708, or a net income of $209,708. $209,708, but that's with the general fund giving it the money to pay its debt. On the next page, on page 17, anytime you have a business type activity, the statement of cash flows is a very important statement. It provides a lot of good and useful information. One thing, that when I presented the Utility Commission audit, we talked about that was a positive for the Utility Commission was the cash that it generates from operations is more than sufficient to cover its debt service needs and its capital asset needs. On the golf course, it tells you the other side of it because it shows net cash provided by operating activities of $91,532. It says net cash used in capital and related financing activities, $388,126. So what that's telling you is the golf course does not generate sufficient cash to cover debt, to cover its capital needs, hence the transfer needed from the general fund. So that's really all I wanted to point out there. It shows you that the golf course's cash is down $18,000, which is relatively flat. Beginning on the next page, on page 18, is the footnotes to the financial statements. If you've seen these reports before, you'll know there's a lot of information that's covered in the footnotes. The footnotes are designed to support all the numbers that I just went over, to provide additional information, to talk about the basis of accounting, for debt issues, to tell you more about the debt that the city has, when it's scheduled to be paid off, et cetera, et cetera. On page, I'm just going to cover a couple things within the footnotes. On page 4, it shows the capital assets of the city, and you can see the heading governmental activities. On page 26, you can see the heading governmental activities. Okay, on page 26, governmental activities, that's the assets of the city that would have been purchased by the general fund, the road fund, the ABC fund, the bus fund. So this is showing the assets of the governmental activities. On the next page, showing you a summary of the assets. On the next page, page 27, the business type activities, this is showing you a summary of the assets of the Utility Commission and the golf course lumped together. At the bottom of page 27, it's giving you more information on the city's debt. It's breaking down who the city has debt with and when those debt service payments are scheduled to be made. And on page 29, it breaks it out for the Utility Commission and the golf course. One important thing on page 31 that you will see and you may be aware of that's noteworthy is I mentioned the general fund having to cover the golf course's debt service of $277,000, I believe it was. Well, part of that is scheduled to be paid off here shortly. The front 9 is scheduled to be paid off in fiscal year 20, which is the year you're in now. So has it been paid off? Or
It's already paid off.
It just got
It's
paid off? Okay.
It's over with, yeah. We paid
Yeah.
$208,000 on it about a week or two ago.
There you go.
It's done.
So that's paid off. So what that means is the general fund will not be required to cover as much as it did in fiscal year 19. So that will be savings in the future now that debt is paid off.
Well, yes and no. The back 9 was 64, but now that goes up to 138.
Yeah, I had that.
And I don't know how that came about, but they said once we get one debt knocked down, the other one's gonna rise up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was going to be not a full savings, but
Right.
maybe 150 or so.
well, it'd be 138 minus 277.
Yeah, it staggers every year. That debt service changes. So yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. On page 32, retirement plan. It gives you all the information on footnote 7 and footnote 8 about the net pension liability and the net OPEB liability. And I mentioned earlier about the increase in CRS rates. 12% increase works out to about around $48,000 a year for the general fund and maybe about $12,000 a year for the utility commission. On page 41, the Oldham Grange Development Authority is considered, or is a joint venture and gets rolled up into the city's financial statements as well, as it has been in the past. So I just draw your attention to that footnote that gives you more information on that. On page 44, this is where you can find information on how the city did compared to what was budgeted. So I'm just drawing attention to that to show you where that is. There's a lot of useful information. It gives you line by line what was budgeted and what was the actual and how did that compare. On page 47, there is additional required schedules. All of these schedules that you see for the net pension liability and the net OPEB liability, they're all required. They're required to be presented so that all the users have this information about that liability, what the assumptions were that went into calculating it, what's the history of it, what's the payroll, what's the contributions, all of it's required. And we have it all in there as required. On page, and I mentioned previously page 57 and 58, I won't cover it in detail, but on page 57 and 58, it gives you the other governmental funds. So this is basically telling you how they did during fiscal year 19. What was the income or loss? How much cash does it have, et cetera. So that takes you through the financial statements. There's just a lot of information. So hopefully what I covered was helpful. On page 59 and 60, I mentioned earlier, there's two reports within that book. One is the auditor's report, which is our opinion on the financial statements, and the other is the independent auditor's report on internal control. An important thing about the independent auditor's report on internal control is it does not express an opinion. As part of our audit, we're engaged to assess the city's internal financial controls and report any deficiencies that we identify in internal control. The report does not express an opinion to guarantee that we've identified all deficiencies. It's just to report any deficiencies that we identify. So this is the report where you typically, if you hear the word audit finding, this is where that's at. Okay, this is where that shows up. This year, fiscal year 19, there were 2 internal control findings, which is an improvement. In fiscal year 18, there was 4. There was 2 findings corrected and resolved from the previous fiscal year. One was related to an error in a bank reconciliation, and the other was related to, if you remember, the city's deposits not being correctly collateralized and covered by FDIC insurance coverage. This year, there's 2 findings in the report again, which are repeat findings. One is related to the first one. I'm on page 61. The city should have internal controls in place to enable it to accurately record all transactions, including year-end accrual transactions. This is related to when the auditor shows up to audit the city's financials, we're presented with a trial balance, which is a record of all the city's financial activity for the fiscal year. And when we when we did the audit this year, there was material audit adjustments. And there's actually going to be a list attached to your letter that shows those adjustments. So this finding is the same finding that we had in fiscal year 18, and it's related to us having to make corrections so that when we say the opinion is fair and it's a clean audit opinion, we're saying we had to make adjustments to get those financials and those numbers to that point. I would draw your all's attention to a change this year, even though it's a repeat finding, a change this year to the city's response to that finding. In the past, the city has taken a position of accepting it as we'll allow the auditor to make the adjustments, and we'll just accept it. We won't have to hire a consultant or incur additional costs, or the staff have to do that. This year, if you read the response, the city has responded that the city is in the process of implementing new internal controls to ensure the year-end close is done accurately and to ensure the city's accounting records are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles. The city's response to this really started during the audit, because within the finance department, they worked very hard in trying to correct this. And there was noticeable improvement in it. And right now, the city's intention and response is to build on that progress, and the goal would be to eliminate it beginning in fiscal year 20. The second finding is one that you guys have had for a long time, and it's the city should have internal controls in place that enable it to prepare complete financial statements. As the auditors, you have engaged us to draft the financial statements and the related footnotes, and you all review and approve those. That is a common thing across the state. Part of it for the auditors to draft the financial statements. It's not unusual, it's not uncommon. The reason that the finding is here is that the city should have folks in place that if the auditor didn't do it, could do it, and could understand it and make sure that it's done properly and accurately without the auditor's assistance. Finding number 1 and 2, in my opinion, sort of go hand in hand. Meaning if the city corrects finding 1, it's likely that finding 2 would be corrected as well. But finding 2 is not unusual for cities to have. That is everything I have in the report. Do you guys have questions that I could answer or information that I could clarify on what's in the report?
Anyone like to ask Kevin a question at this time? A lot of information here, 61 pages worth. So does anyone, I'm not saying no one's capable of asking a question, but it just a lot of moving of numbers, and the good news is, from my standpoint, there's no fraud, there's no missing money, no cash missing, no nothing. That's huge in my opinion. I will say to the council, Mayor Davenport was responsible during his tenure of 6 months of this operation, and I was responsible for the last 6 months. I do like the fact that after all said and done at the end of the year, Mayor, this be part of your effort to put together a budget. But years in, it was my effort to try to control the budget in my 6 months, but the city basically made $601,753. That's what we're up, cash. Correct, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that number was taking out of consideration the comp tax.
Well, I'm saying after we back out comp tax, we had income of $5,074,000. We spent $4,473,000 for a net savings or a cash carryover $601,753 is what I have.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay, so that's the good news. The not so good news are the findings. And I've told you, and I changed our position statement on that within the management opinion, and no findings is what I strive to get to. I honestly don't know if we can ever get there, because what I've seen Heather and Stephanie have to deal with your involvement, has just been tremendous accounting entries. And it's huge, because I've listened to it. I've heard you all on the phone for hours trying to understand to get these things categorically right. And I'm hoping we can eliminate the last 2 findings, because any findings to me in operation of a city are probably unacceptable. But I understand with Stephanie and Heather, they've done their very best, 61 pages of numbers, and trying to move 10 million here and there and every which way, we'll try to work on that, and that's the reason I answered the management response the way I did. I'm not going to sit here and say, we're going to depend on you to do it. We're going to do it. And we're going to try our best to make sure that our financial department gets there. Because it's not easy. And we do not have certified public accountants on the payroll.
Right.
We don't have that. Now, if we wanted to pay for CPAs to be on the payroll and CFOs and everything that could understand what you expect them to do, we can go that route. But in the past, we've chosen not to do that, and I'm willing to guarantee to the general public, because I take this as a responsibility, we're going to correct these findings and get these internal controls correct. But yet, being said, it's a huge amount of entries and reconciliations and all this language you talk about of trying to move this stuff exactly into the area that you expect it to be as a CPA, correct?
Yes, the city has grown, the city has a lot of moving pieces, and it is not easy. I recognize that. And governmental accounting standards by their design it doesn't make it easy. You're having to report two separate ways.
I called Department of Local Government on this exact issue, and I said, we're on accrual basis of accounting, whereas counties are on a city basis, cash basis. And I'm somewhat told that a county audit is not as thorough as what you expect from your viewpoint from a city auditor's perspective. Could you maybe talk about the difference of a cash basis audit versus accrual basis?
Yeah, a cash basis audit cash means cash. So you're reporting net income based off of the day you cut the check, the day you take the money in. So you cut a check, the date you write it, that's your expense. The date you receive money, that's the date that it's revenue, okay? On an accrual basis of accounting, you all have to recognize income when it's earned or due and expenditures when they're incurred. So if you guys have a contractor come out and do work somewhere in the city on June 28th, and they don't bill you for a month and a half, you have to book an accounts payable and recognize that expense. You have to recognize everything you incurred as of June 30th as an expense. All of your tax revenue, all your dollars that come in from citizens that are for the quarter ending June 30, 2019, for example, you have to, in July and August, recognize that this money that we just got isn't for this year we're currently in, this month where we're attending this meeting that you're in. It's actually for the prior year. So we have to go in and we have to book an entry to book that as accounts receivable and date that back. A cash basis audit doesn't do that. A cash basis audit doesn't have to recognize the net pension liability, the net OPEB liability. It doesn't have to go through a series of calculations to say, okay, what is the county's share of that liability, and book the different categories of it and disclose all of that information. It doesn't have to record debt. It doesn't have to break out current debt, long-term debt. So there's just a lot. Those are just some examples. So there's a lot that goes into accrual. But in the county audit, cash audit, you have to do it both ways. You have to do a modified accrual, which is part accrual but not full accrual. And then you have to do an accrual, a separate set of financial statements. Then you have to do a reconciliation between the two to show everybody. So there's a lot more that goes into it. So it's an accrual audit it's that way for a reason. They have the cities do it because it gives you a better reflection of the complete picture.
So to get the utility audit out by September and maybe the golf course out by September, which I'd like to get to too, but since we're still booking things in August and September and backdating them because they were due in the fiscal year prior to June 30th.
Right.
You're able to do their audits because at that moment you're treating them as a business type of entity by themselves, correct?
Right. Typically the earliest, we do, I believe, over 20 city audits. And typically, and I'll answer that, typically the earliest is beginning of October that we would ever issue a report, maybe late September, but typically early October is the earliest, because you have to wait those couple months, because you don't know, a lot of the money you're getting, you don't know where it's coming from until you get it. You know, the businesses file the returns and send it to you, and that's when you know what you get. The utility commission is different because it is a fee-based, the revenue is fee-based. So they send out their bills in June, or they send it out in early July for June, and they have reports that they know what they billed. And they're gonna collect that, or what's gonna happen? Their customers are gonna get shut off. So it's a lot easier to close out the utility commission's books as a fee-based entity where they're charging for services. The city has to wait to see what it gets based off of what people file. So, you know, like I said, typically the earliest reporting on that on my end is beginning of October, maybe late September. It can certainly be done, you know, in that time frame if you guys are able to and want to target that. But that'd be the soonest.
Anyone else at this time? Nothing? Yes, sir.
I have one more thing. There's the letter in front of you. You guys get this every year. This is a required communication between the auditor and those charged in governance. So in your all's case, the city council and the mayor. This letter is designed to communicate certain things that might not otherwise show up in the audit report. You know, did we have any difficulties? Did we disagree? You know, we proposed an adjustment and you guys said no, and we disagreed and we never agreed. We didn't have anything like that. There's really nothing in this letter to report that is an area of concern. The only information in this letter I draw your attention to is it does give you the journal entries. So it's the fourth page there. So it kind of shows you the different things from an accounting perspective we had to do during the audit. But otherwise, I didn't have anything else in that letter to go over with you. And hopefully I didn't take too long. And I hope that what I did cover was helpful. And, you know, I think Stephanie will tell you, I try to be as responsive as possible and take questions throughout the year. So if any of y'all want to reach out to me about a question in the audit report, I encourage you to do so. I'm happy to explain it. I definitely recognize that all the moving pieces can be hard to follow sometimes.
Okay, Kevin, I think you've given the council a very thorough explanation of where we are, and I really appreciate the clear presentation I think you gave to the council. I think all of them would feel that everything's in accordance with good county and principles and standards. So we'll be talking to you, and thank you so much, and have a safe trip back to where, Lexington?
Lexington.
Lexington.
Yep.
Go back and cheer on the Wildcats tomorrow night.
I'm going.
Okay.
I'll be there.
You got any extra tickets?
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, and I appreciate what you've helped Heather. I think you've been great with them, helping them, and what they've had to reverse back after the year ended on June 30th has just been a tremendous operation, reversing well into September, back into the year previous, and
Yeah.
this accrual basis thing is really, but I think they've really taken in a lot and learned a lot and understand more so what you're looking for. So I appreciate that.
Good. Well,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
Tell your partner, I'm not gonna say partner in what, but tell your partner hello for me.
Okay, I will. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Kevin.
Okay, Jim Urban, he's one of those guys that likes to be home by 9 o'clock. So Jim's here from Planning and Development Office, and he has a couple of items to present to you all tonight, and each of those items, I take it, have been in your packets, correct? Everyone have those, I believe, I hope. Stephanie and Heather, did they get those items, or just get them tonight? Or-
just got them tonight.
Okay, is that because we got them Friday?
Yes.
I think we got one of them from Jim, but go ahead, Jim, introduce yourself and tell us what you have to bring to the council tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Urban, Director of Planning and Development Services. Council members, I appreciate your attention. What I'm asking you in the first item is that you allow the mayor to sign a contract amendment with BTM for the engineering services on Eden Parkway. Actually, we started this project about a year ago, not quite, and this is a contract amendment. You can see on the page, and I'll put it up on the screen for you for those of you that want to see it in the audience. Let's see here. It is a not-to-exceed amount of $12,770, and that is an item that is split 50-50 between the city and the county. Last week at the, or 2 weeks ago rather, at the fiscal court meeting, the fiscal court allowed a judge to sign this same contract. I'm sorry, I'm going tomorrow for this one. It's the next item I did that. The reason that we have this change order is that we've discovered that there's a archaeological site that was in the way of the alignment of the roadway, and there was a 100-foot buffer, and if you stay outside that 100-foot buffer, you don't have to have an archaeologist on site when you're doing the construction. And we thought that realigning the roadway would be a better idea than having the archaeologist on site, paying them, and also slowing the project down. So that's the short version of my explanation. I can.
Could you tell the council what the original contract was originally? And then what the amendment means, how much over and above the original contract? Do you have that in your head?
I believe it was about $85,000, this version of it, which was the construction documents. And this is, again, it'll be $6,385 from the city and the same amount from the county if it's approved. So that brings the total to just under $100,000 for the construction documents.
Okay, and
This
once
is for
these,
Eden Parkway.
once this adjustment, correction, amendment's done, then we'll be ready to do what as far as Eden Parkway goes?
We're going to put it out for bid, and hopefully we're going to do that at the end of this month so that at the beginning of May, we can start construction.
Start construction on the, everyone familiar with Eden Parkway, where it now dead ends up past Rollins, and we're gonna go straight through the cul-de-sac and on to Grange Parkway, and that's what Jim's talking about for those who not quite sure where he's referring to.
Can't quite get this any, the whole thing on this, but this is basically, you can see up at the very top of the screen is not constructed. It's the roundabout that's in the town center. And the Eden Parkway extension goes all the way down to the Grange Parkway at the bottom. So this is the archaeological site right here, and that line signifies the 100-foot buffer. And so we could have done construction inside that buffer, but because it involves an archaeologist and additional cost and time, we decided to realign the roadway. So you can see that it just really threads right between two creeks and the archaeological site and connects to the Grange Parkway.
Okay. So the original design of the road, am I saying this correctly, actually came closer to the archaeological site, now you want to move it away from it to get out of that 100-foot buffer?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
You need to design that piece of it to meet LaGrange Parkway.
That's why we're doing this contract amendment, yes. And
Okay.
again, this is a not-to-exceed number, so we've talked to BTM and said, listen, if there's any other cost savings, you know, that we actually have trimmed the cost down a little bit by reviewing it, the hours that they were proposing, and then we put in not-to-exceed as opposed to a lump sum.
Okay, your number is what for the city to accept tonight?
Well, the total contract amendment is $12,770, and the city's share will be $6,385.
Okay, anyone on the city council willing to make that motion to approve Jim's request?
I'll make a motion to approve Jim's request.
Okay, motion made by, I'll give it to Bill Lamline, second by Joe Davenport. All those in favor of the motion, any discussion on the motion?
Actually,
some
I've got
questions.
oh, go ahead.
No, you
All
go
right.
ahead.
Go ahead,
yeah.
that's right.
Okay, I was just kind of looking at the rate schedule here in terms of payment, and it says $300 an hour for an expert witness. Can you explain what that might be? Everybody else is like 160, 100.
Are you on the let's see,
second
the second
page?
page?
rate schedule R22?
Well, that's in the event that's their rate schedule for all of their professional services, and we don't anticipate expert witness. That would be in the event of some kind of challenge or lawsuit,
Okay.
where they would support us actually in that.
Okay, I just saw that and I thought, whoa, what is going on? What do we need an
That's
expert
where they have to
witness
raise
for
their
for
hand and
that?
swear to tell the truth. So,
Okay, thank you.
Jim, I have a question. What, do we know what the archaeological site is?
to the best of my knowledge, it's a farmstead. It's not prehistoric, and there aren't any, as far as we know, any bodies buried there. And that's why there are two buffers, actually. One is a 50-foot buffer, and that's a no-disturb area, and the other, another 50 feet where we could get in there. But they're looking for things like pottery or household items, or the potential if there was somebody that was buried outside of the farmstead. There's a foundation there.
Okay, does that answer everyone's questions? We have a motion, a second. Any further questions on the request by Jim? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, thank you. The second item, actually, I think it was probably the very first or second time that this council met last year. I stood in front of you and we discussed Peak Road, and we actually Eden Parkway extension as well. And at that time, you all had understanding that we would need to spend money on engineering services for Peak Road, and we put out a request for proposals. This is for A to Z to get all the construction plans done, and I'm going to say this is Peak Road West, so it's west of the roundabout in Oldham Reserve. And we opened bids, we accepted bids up to Friday, January 31st, and we opened them at the following fiscal court meeting on February, a couple days later. And this is the lowest responsive bid. You can see that the total amount is $45,600. The next responsive bid was about $85,000. So Jim Silliman, the county engineer, and I called the firm to make sure that they understood what the bid was and that that was the bid they submitted. They said yes. So what I'm asking you to do is, we don't yet have a contract, I have a draft, but when it's finally prepared, I'd like you all to consider allowing the mayor to sign that contract and accept this bid. Again, this money is split between the city and the county, so your share is half of that. And the amount is, I did the math already, $22,800 of that will be the responsibility of the city. And with that, again, we will have construction documents should we want to proceed and build Peak Road to the west of the roundabout connecting to LaGrange Parkway.
But am I correct in saying that the Eden Parkway documents came in two different sets or two different phases, whereas this one is ready to build a road for this amount of money, correct?
That's correct, yes.
One time, there's no alignment and grade, and then a set of construction drawings, correct?
You're absolutely correct.
Okay.
If you look at these line items, it's surveying and topography, preliminary line and grade is all included, right-of-way, easements. There won't be utility plans because we don't anticipate putting utilities in. And then the final plan and bid documents, they've included a number for coming to meetings and then construction oversight. So, I mean, this is, in my opinion, first of all, it's a good firm. We have done some work with Palmer Engineering in the past, and it's a low bid.
Okay, motion made by Elsie Carter. Is there a second to Elsie's motion to approve this contract? Second by Andrea Essen Price. Any discussion on the motion before the council? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jim, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. I'm staying for this next one, and then item number 15.
Okay, what we have tonight, everyone, is a second reading and a public hearing on an ordinance amending the zoning map for a portion of Main Street from 301 address to 428 East Main. Mr. Craig Mile, would you like to bring anything to the council before Amy Alvey speaks? Ms. Alvey, she's going to be presenting for the Planning and Development Office. Any
Well,
remarks you'd like to make to the council itself?
Well, I was just wondering if we should have the first reading and then the public hearing would be part of her presentation.
Well, we're going to do that, but
This is the second reading.
we're going to have the
I mean,
public...
second reading, I
Yeah, we're
mean.
going to do that, but someone's going to make a motion to approve, and second, then they're going to also make a motion to go into a public hearing. But I was just asked you to give a review on what we're about, what this is about tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, just for the public, this is a area in East Main Street, right beyond the railroad tracks at Cedar Avenue. There's about 14 properties that are currently residential. And the mayor and the council had an idea to try to turn this area into a cool area that might be open for business and small businesses, restaurants, sort of a Nulu type concept. And so there's a zoning mode called CN, Commercial Neighborhood, which transforms a residential neighborhood with into the opportunity to have businesses carried on inside it. And that's
Okay?
the process that we had to go through is we presented this to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning approved it, and then it comes back to the city for ultimate amendment of the map, because under the comprehensive plan, the city has a jurisdiction over all changes to zoning within the city limits.
Okay. Okay, that being said, would there be a city council person would like to make a motion to go ahead and approve this zoning change? And I'll need a motion, a second, then I'll ask for a motion, a second, go into a public hearing.
I just have one thing really fast, and I don't know if this is the time or not. We didn't get to do this in our meeting in February, and I just wanted to make note that it says the second reading was done February 3rd. On our paper, it needs to get corrected to March 2nd.
Right, I noticed that too. So the-
The ordinance needs to be corrected, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
I'll make the motion to accept with that adjustment.
Okay, motion made. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, let me know, be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Is that what you're asking for? To change that? Okay, now I need a motion to approve this zoning change. Okay, motion made by Leslie. Is there a
I'll
second by
second.
Trey Kamer? Okay, we have a motion, a second. So now, I'd entertain a motion, we go into a public hearing, then I'm going to let
So moved.
Amy. Motion made by Trey, second by Andrea. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Welcome, Amy Alvey.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening. Amy Alvey with Oldham County Planning and Development Services. As Attorney Craig Moss stated, this is ordinance 1-2020, which was an application filed by the city of LaGrange for approval of a zoning map amendment and for the 14 properties between 301 East Main Street through 423 East Main Street. The properties are currently zoned R2A residential, and they are being proposed to be rezoned to CN Commercial Neighborhood. This is an aerial view of the property. All of the properties highlighted in red are the subject properties for this zoning change. This is just an area view, shows existing structures and driveways. This is the future land use map on there. There we go, there's the future land use map. Just shows that it is, shows it as single family there. This is the train depot here. It's shown as institutional because it's owned by the county. There's been no previous actions before the city regarding this property. This is the case history. As Beach said, this has been going on since September the 30th. We did have a community meeting. Then we had different notices that were sent out to the adjoining property owners regarding the Planning Commission meeting in November. And then we had first reading in January, and then we also had sent out notices in February, but then we rescinded those to send those back out in for the hearing that is here today. So the city is requesting a zoning change on 14 tracts of land along East Main Street from R2A to CN. The tracts are located between Cedar and Mulberry Avenue, which is also known as Eddie Mundo Way, and it's approximately 3 acres in size. Per KRS 102.11.2, it outlines what the requirements are for a zoning change. I won't read that verbatim, but it just talks about having at least one public hearing and making findings of facts. So a meeting was held by the City of LaGrange on September the 30th of 2019 at the LaGrange Train Museum with the property owners of the subject parcels. And at that meeting, 9 of the 14 property owners that were present, and they were all in favor of moving forward with this. So highlighted in green are the 9 property owners that were present and in favor of moving forward with this zoning change. On November 4th of 2019, LaGrange City Council passed a resolution, number 3, Series 2019, that was authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the application for the zoning change. And then it went to the Planning Commission November 26th with a recommendation to the city on a vote of 11-0. So per section 280.010 of the zoning map amendment procedures and development plan requirements, item B exempts. It states that applications for amendments to zoning maps which are initiated by the commission or legislative body having zoning authority over the affected property shall be exempt from the development plan and binding element section of the ordinance. Normally when you see a zoning change come before city council, you'll see a development plan of what they want to exactly do with the property, and this section exempts the commission or legislative bodies that are requesting that. By changing the zoning from R2A to CN, it would allow uses such as business and professional offices, commercial uses under 10,000 square feet, restaurants without drive-throughs, as well as bed and breakfast establishments by right. So this is a comparison. On the left side, you'll see that is R2A residential. Those are the items that are permitted uses. And then comparing those over here on the right side of everything that is CN. So what you would be able to do in addition by having this zoning change is everything that is in white on the right side. So you could have farmers markets, restaurants without drive-throughs, retail and personal service establishments under 10,000 square feet, library, museums, and art galleries, parks, playgrounds, community centers, and business and professional offices as well. And you can have 2-family and multifamily dwellings too. So this is the same thing that as compared to the first slide. These are conditional uses. So if anybody wanted to do any of these items on either side, it requires a public hearing process by your LaGrange Board of Adjustments. And they have to give justification of why they want to do it. It is a public hearing process, so all adjoining properties are notified and can come speak in favor or in opposition. So again, anything that is in white would be an additional thing that they would be able to apply for and ask for approval. Again, these are conditional uses, not permitted. So those would be veterinarian hospitals, community buildings and facilities, manufactured home, and a sewage treatment plant. So according to the applicant's justification statement that was written by Attorney Craig Mile, its purpose of the zoning map amendment is to encourage economic vitality in an area by a mix of residential and business uses, recognizing the importance of the train museum as a tourism attraction and venue for public events. So the justification further goes into further detail of other items there, and that is also in your staff report. These are just some pictures that were taken. So this gives you the East Main Street, Jericho Road, Kentucky 712. So this is going towards Jericho Road. This is looking back into town. This is the west view. So these are the subject properties. This is 301 East Main, 305, 307, 311, 313, 401, 403, 405, 413, 415, 417, 419, 421, and 423. So in summary, this is a zoning change request initiated by the City of LaGrange requesting a zoning change on 14 tracts from R2A to C in commercial neighborhood. Be happy to answer any questions.
One question I'd have.
Yes, sir.
Right now, you said you put something on a lot evidently with certain approvals, 10,000 feet or less. So my question would be, if a lot is 7,500 square feet or 8,000, does that mean if it's 10,000 feet or less, could you take up the whole lot with an 8,000 square foot building?
No.
Doesn't there have to be parking considered based on, even though it says
Parking.
10,000 feet or less, you still have to have parking accommodations, correct?
Correct. Parking, impervious surface requirements, and maximum lot coverage is all defined in CN. So if anyone wanted to do any additions to any existing structures, they would have to comply with the setbacks of the commercial neighborhood district. But if they left the building standing as is and wanted to convert it into a coffee shop, they would just go through the building permit process.
Concern I would have too, coming in off the alleys, it's my intention, if this rezoning passes tonight, that these properties will be under fairly strict guidelines through your office as what can be done with them. You know, I want it to stay nice, appropriate, clean, sharp looking, but also coming in off the backside of the alleys, I want to think about the people on the backside of that alley as much as I do these people here, right? So can we have assurances coming off the backside and having parking coming in off the backside that your office will make sure that's done appropriately, Jim or Amy?
Well, as best we can. We don't anticipate large-scale uses of these properties.
Okay.
And, you know, for the most part, parking is probably the one deterrent for that, to not expand so they're so large. I think the issue is going to be whether or not they can even make turns off the alley into their into their yards, and whether they even want to. So some of them have garages or buildings in the back, and they would have to demolish those in order to use the alley. So, you know, I think as we see each one come, and we've had a rezoning case right across the street from the building here on the first two houses that we've not seen any additional use other than one was restored from Dr. Sparks's office to a attorney's office, and there's parking nearby. So we will work, though, obviously, with anybody that wants to come in and make any changes. They have to go through building codes. That's another issue.
Well, I want to go through building codes and also make sure our code enforcement officer has the ability to keep these 14 houses looking like we want them to look, you know, within the guidelines.
That will be up to the property owners to make sure that it happens.
Okay, you finished, Amy? Good. Okay, we're gonna go ahead into the public hearing. I'll just say this has been initiated, this zoning change by the city. No individual has come in here alone. This is gonna be a blanket type of zoning. So with that being said, is there anyone here tonight would like to support the change of this zoning from R2 to C-N? Anyone in support here tonight that'd like to speak publicly? Would you like to say something, sir, and give us your name? And
No, I just want, I
why
support.
don't you come on up and state your name and just tell us which property you own? So get you on the record, unless you'd rather not do that. I appreciate you coming, though.
Thank you. Pete Fugate, and I own 307 East Main, and sounds like a great idea. And thank everybody who had anything to do with it.
Thank you, Mr. Fugate. Appreciate you.
I will not be hired as a speaker.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else here in support? If you are, your chance is now. Anyone here tonight in opposition? No one opposed to it, correct? Okay. No closing statements by Mr. Fugate or by the opposition, so I guess we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. So who'd like to make a motion to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Motion made by Trey Kamer,
Second.
second by Leslie Wright.
I could have done that.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the subject of the change of zoning lays on the council table, so would the council like to discuss it, or do you have a ordinance prepared?
There is some form language in there. Basically, you have to make findings of fact and a conclusion. If findings of fact, it has to be that it's as simple as it complies with the comprehensive plan. And if it's compliant with the comprehensive plan, that alone is enough, but you could also say you could make a finding that it is due to changes in the character and nature of the neighborhood, that this zoning is appropriate, which is you could adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and their recommendation, which would be a simple way to put it, but you do just need to make findings of fact and then you conclude that it's appropriate.
Okay? Anyone willing to try?
I'd like to ask if I could get a copy of the sheet, the page you're showing, the cans and can'ts.
Anyone want to make a motion to try to?
Mayor, before we make that motion, I would like to make sure that the second reading date is changed to the correct date on the, I think it says the 3rd, I believe the day's 2nd, isn't it?
I think we already voted on that, and I think we voted
You're out
to.
there talking to
Oh, okay,
Ted.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
One,
I didn't even realize you were absent till after we voted, you were out there talking to Ted.
folks, one thing I just noticed in looking at the draft here is there is a, page 4 inadvertently includes 2 properties on the description, 2 properties that we were contemplating at one point in time on Washington Street. So that page should be erased or pulled out. The two properties that are not included in this are 205 East Washington and 207 East Washington. But the other 14 properties are, their legal descriptions
On
are,
Main Street that Amy talked about tonight.
right. So the 14 properties are described, this is what actually gets sent to the PVA and everything, and how it gets changed.
So do I need to amend my motion to accept and say, I'll make the amendment again to remove 205 East Washington and 207 East Washington? Is that
Correct.
acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, what about his findings of fact, Mr. Craig Mile? Is he going to just adopt the findings of fact of the Planning Commission, or anything added from Trey's motion that needs to be into the record? That you just explained a moment ago. Simplify it for him so he can get it into the record.
I don't think we have to simplify it too much for Trey.
Well, yeah, but he needs to,
Pretty simple. No, there's some recommended language on page 2 of the application, where it says zoning map amendment, motion to approve the zoning map amendment because, and then A, it complies with the objectives of the comprehensive plan, and then C, there have been changes of economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved which were not anticipated in adopting the comprehensive plan. That's a significant enough findings of fact.
okay? And Trey said that?
Yeah, I think Trey
Okay.
was thinking that.
Yes. I agree with the statement as the city attorney has read.
Okay, motion was made by Trey, and who seconded that motion?
So what's the
Leslie?
motion? The motion's based on the findings of planning and zoning, is that correct? Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you all so very much. I'm hopeful that some nice things will happen down through that corridor there, and it'll be done correctly and appropriately across from the train museum, and there'll just be a continuation for the opportunity for someone to take one of those houses and do something neat with it, or live in it for the duration. So, okay, that being said, we have a second reading. Jim, are y'all finished tonight? Okay, thank you all for coming, you and Amy. Do you need something? Okay, I'm sorry. We have a second reading, a public hearing of ordinance 2-20, ordinance adopting amendments and corrections relating to the utility commission rates. Mr. Trey Kamer, I believe, on that one.
As far as just to give an overview,
Yes, sir, and then I think you're going to introduce it and get a motion on it.
yes, so I will introduce for a second reading in public hearing an ordinance 2-2020, an ordinance adopting amendments and corrections related to the utility commission rate. So as we went over last month, 5260 is part of that correction. It should have been 5%. We found, I believe, in 2016, I believe. I might be wrong on the date, but a previous council had voted to adjust the rate to 5%. So this was a correction as part of the discussion and review of the sewer and water ordinances. 5258. And 5256 and 5267 were all, and we went over this last month as well, but adding a column for the tap fee outside of the city, and then adjusting the tap fee to include inside the city. So we'll now effectively have two separate columns. Previously, it was one column with one single rate. And as far as just some additional notes, we did bring this to the Grange Utilities Commission for their board to review and provide a recommendation, and they were in favor of making these adjustments.
Okay. So you'd like to move to adopt this ordinance before the city council tonight?
Yes, I can make that motion to accept Ordinance 2, Series 2020.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Andrew Essen Price. Okay, now I need a motion to go into a public hearing. So motion made by Leslie Wright,
A second.
second by Trey Kamer. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we're now in a public hearing concerning this rate schedule and what Trey has just elaborated on. Is the council pretty familiar with what's taking place here? You are? Okay, you understand? Okay, make sure council, because this has come from a committee that's been working on this for how many months, Trey? Six months or better?
At least.
Several.
6 months at least to try to get this to the table tonight. So anyone here tonight want to come forward and support this ordinance before the council? And this change of some rate structures? Anyone here to support that? Okay, no one here to support it. Is anyone here to oppose it? Okay, no one's here for it or against it. So I'll go ahead, I guess, and close the public hearing. Well, I won't close it. I'll entertain a motion to close it. Who'd like to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Trey, second by Leslie. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any discussion among the council based on what's before the council tonight? We have a motion and a second. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you, Trey. I want to thank that committee for, who's all on that committee, Trey? Yourself and who?
This is the
Utilities Committee?
utilities. So this is myself, Joe, and Debbie.
Okay. Also want to appreciate the commission itself, Ted, for Trey's coming to the commission and you all working together on this, and hopefully it serves its purpose down the road. Thank you all.
If I could, this ordinance that we had to file this correction brings to light a problem that the council has with the accuracy of the published versions of our ordinances. Because Ted remembers a previous council passed this law, changing the, lowering the percentage from 7% to 5%. But when it got sent over to our publisher, it didn't make it into the book. So Ted ran into another thing where the rate for tap fees inside the city should be, and according to their procedures, should be $1,500 for water tap fees, but the book, the published version of this said 1,000. So, and this is not the first time that I've run into inconsistencies in the language of what we think it is and what it should be. So, I don't know what the solution to that is. I mean, according to the KRS, you're required to go through all your ordinances every 5 years and come up with amendments and that. So you might want to have a review committee or something. I'm not sure.
How many
but
ordinances do we have on the books? Anyone know that answer?
I can show it to you here. Here we go.
I mean, what's well, that's what I'm saying. And what usually happens with ordinances and finding out things about them is for an issue to come up that causes you to go into the discovery of what it presently says and how it's going to say in the future, and that's when you learn about these things. But if your suggestion is I'm okay with keeping up to date of 5 years, but if that be the case, we got to work on 61 pages per meeting. Okay, so we can work on that, Mr. Craig Mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
and, if it makes us feel any better, this happens in Frankfurt too. Okay, this happens with Kentucky statutes, so,
Okay, well, that makes me feel better.
good.
Thank you for that information, Mr. Craig Mile. Okay, we have that second hearing done. We move to item 15, Roads, Public Safety, Police, Environmental Committee. I think these two items, I think, come from strictly the road section of that committee. So our first thing to address is item 1, address 111 West Main Street sidewalk encroachment. I think Joe Davenport led that committee, he leads it and is chair of that, and I think they've met. But I would say that Andy Work is here tonight, who owns 111 West Main Street. So, Mayor Davenport, if you'd like to go ahead and brief the council on what the issue is, be glad to listen to what you have.
Well, I think what we discussed was on the encroachment is for the steps. Actually, there'll be a 3 foot, 8-inch platform coming out for the steps to go into the building because of
Okay.
what they got to do.
Excuse me, Joe. Andy Work, he's going to present, and I don't know if he's going to put that up on an overhead projector, which he may well do,
Yeah.
but Andy's welcome to come forward when you're ready, Mayor, because you're the chair of the committee, so, but
Yeah, that's
just
fine,
hold
because
up,
I've got
just-
it all.
So,
Yeah.
where this has come from, everyone, this has been to the Historic District Commission.
Yes.
They basically approved what his intentions were. I think the Historic District Commission asked his architect to come back with some more detail, but actually gave him the permission to move forward on trying to accomplish the steps to get it to the upstairs of his building. So they felt that would be appropriate. but yet come back for further detail of the steps, the railing, and things like that. Would that be a fair assessment, Joe?
Yes, the reason this encroachment's gotta be done for these steps is actually for the steps inside the building to go up to the second floor.
To meet current building standards.
To make, the current building codes, so that's got to be raised, so that's
And what's
to
it-
get to those
It was
steps.
heard by the Historic District Commission, then came the street committee, the road committee. They have heard it, but they felt that the city council needed to hear it as a full body to understand what's taking place and actually give the approval or the denial of that. So, good evening, Andy. Are you ready for Andy to speak,
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Chairman?
yeah.
Okay. Let's see, you want to raise your right hand for me? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth
Yes,
about this project?
yes.
Okay. State your name and your address, Andy.
Andy Work, home address or
Your home address,
1913 Covey Trace.
okay? You want to tell us about your project and your ideas here?
Yes. I'm trying to renovate the upstairs to make that usable space because it's just been storage for the last 50 or so years. Back then, 50 or so years ago, they removed the staircase completely. So now it's not a renovation on the stairs, it's new construction and it has to meet current building codes. The problem is there's not enough space for the proper rise and run, and I can't get an exemption. The State Historical Council wouldn't do that, and they feel the best solution is to put a landing out on the sidewalk so the steps are the proper rise and run, meeting current safety standards.
Okay. Is that it?
As far as I know.
Mayor, council, we actually went over and measured. My concern was what we were going to have, but that from the building, that sidewalk is actually 9 foot. So you're a little over 9 foot. So even with this coming out, with the steps on each side coming out 3 foot 8 inches, you're still going to have 6 foot there of sidewalk. It's not. So that was a concern I had going into it, and then Corey went over and measured, and Corey, was it 9 foot? Was that a little over 9 foot?
6 foot left over.
So we're gonna have 6 foot left over, even from the platform to the curb, there's still gonna be 6 foot sidewalk. So we didn't think that would be a concern for us and we were looking at it, and if Andrea wants to make her statement, because we looked at it, and as anybody was willing to renovate, that part of it, and Andrea, if you wanted, I think Andrea brought up go ahead with economic
Sure,
development.
I think anytime that we've got someone wanting to invest in their property on Main Street, I think it's a good thing to try to encourage that and not put roadblocks in their way. I was concerned about what the Historic District Commission had to say about it, and hearing that they were, gave, tentative approval based on the architect's plan. I noted also that several other buildings in LaGrange, Elsie's one, Beach's office
got
is
one.
another, have these types of landings with steps coming down from them, so it's not an unheard of thing in our city. And I think anything that we can do to try to encourage, upstairs development is a good thing, so I was in favor of it.
Yeah, me and Andrea was, Debbie's on the committee, she was absent, she had some surgery, but that's the way we looked at it. Actually, it's anyone that was willing to renovate a historic building on Main Street to get upstairs and create a space for rental, and so the committee actually recommended it, and So the presentation was good for the committee, and they gave us all the drawings and went over it and explained it all to us, the inside and out, so, we felt comfortable with it, so.
Okay, so, that being said, does anyone else want to comment about what's before the council?
I have a question. Are they stamped drawings?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you want to see that?
Whoever stamped those obviously is not aware of the fact that you cannot have doors swinging into a building. They have to swing out for fire reasons.
I didn't know if that was because it was an historical building.
No, you're putting new doors in, they have to swing out. But you might want to check on that.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I don't know, I see some issues, but the doors do have to swing out.
I think the,
You don't have storm doors on commercial buildings.
The night, Mayor, at the Historic District Commission meeting, I was there, and that architect who represents Andy said that anything less than 29-person capacity, that was her opinion, did not have to have swing-out doors. Now, and because of the load capacity upstairs of this building, without the second designated entrance,
Egress.
he can not go more than 29 folks. And that's what his architect said to the Historic District Commission on the swinging in, swinging out. But I don't know, as you're saying, if that's the case or not, based on amount of people that this is permitted
The
to have.
capacity's figured on its use. Unless you know what the use is, you don't know what the capacity is. Jim, Mr. Urban, am I correct in that statement? Thank you.
So, what the mayor's saying, that door has to swing out on its use.
Right now, we've just been thinking of general office use.
I'm not gonna base my vote on what that door does. That's up to you. I'm just telling you, I think that there is an issue there that you need to look into before you go forward with that construction.
I will. Definitely, I'll check into that.
Well, yeah, but Elsie, it's a modification, and you gotta go under the new building codes. You know, there's a lot of things happen since your doors were put in to swing in. A lot of things have happened historically, fires, you name it, and they don't want people pushing up against a door that's swinging in, so we understand that. So, Andy, you're finished. Mayor, you have any further comments from your committee? If you don't, you wanna make a recommendation to approve what, or whatever your choice would be for Mr. Andy's request.
yes, I'll make a recommendation to approve it.
Okay, the motion been made by Joe Davenport, second by Elsie Carter. Any discussion at this point in time on the motion before the council? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Andy, and appreciate what you're doing there and helping out upstairs of your facility there, okay? Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Okay, item 2, under Roads Public Safety Committee, we have item 2, referring to street parking on West Washington. Mayor, Joe, I think that was your committee as well, so would you like to give us a briefing or refer to Stephanie Winthers come forward, or what do you want to say about that?
I will let Stephanie make a presentation. Basically, they're parking on West Washington, and we've had citizens' complaints when the trucks unload for all aboard liquors, and the cars are parked there in front of on Washington Street. It's creating problems to get through. So Stephanie took the complaints and she took pictures, and then, so if you want to Stephanie, I'll turn it over to you and
Okay, so the issue is, probably the past 18 months, I've received quite a few complaints. Not only myself, but I know that they also call the police department and complain. What happens is, we've got 53 right here, and you've got West Washington. Here's City Place. This is All Aboard Liquors. People are turning into West Washington, and they're coming face to face.
All Aboard Liquors is up here.
All Aboard Liquors, right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right here. People are turning onto West Washington, and there's cars parked on this whole side. They're turning onto West Washington, and they're coming head-on into a delivery truck with cars parked on both sides, and they can't get down the road. So not only can they not get down the road, but because it's Highway 53, you can't back up from where you came from to get out of there. I have gone, there's another picture here. We did have someone call one time because they had turned and there was not enough room to get through, and she was panicked and didn't know what to do, so we went down and we helped her get out of the parking spot.
Is he parking right there?
She was not parking, she was trying to get down the street.
Okay, he's not parking, he's just trying to get down the street.
Just trying to get down the streets. But if they turn, like I said, if you're going down 53 and you try to turn and then you come face to face with this, where do you go? You're stuck. So I went and I spoke with All Aboard Liquors. I realized that they have to have their deliveries. It's a business. All businesses have deliveries, and you have big trucks that make the deliveries. Their deliveries are always Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. There's not a set time. Delivery drivers kind of work on their own schedule, but those are the time frames that the deliveries happen. And then I went over to City Place to talk to them and say, hey, could we maybe not park there during the daytime hours during the week? They told me that their employees do not park there, that parking is always when there's a special event going on, those people park there. You know, I suggested, hey, can you help us out? Tell them maybe to park in the City Place parking lot, park around the corner. Let's leave this open so we can have traffic coming through when these delivery trucks are here. Go ahead.
Are the delivery trucks maybe delivered from that spot? Or are they
Yes.
gonna get in that parking lot?
No. And there's bigger trucks that come through there. But no, they'll pull onto West Washington, they park there, they offload.
They park on Washington.
They park on Washington.
Then I don't think you can make them not park on the other side. I think it's, you gotta do either no parking.
Well, there's a couple options. Now, per our ordinance 7204, restrictions and prohibitions on designated streets, the city can determine what streets or portions thereof stopping or parking shall be restricted or prohibited. So I took this before the road committee, and we talked about different ways that we can do this. And one of the options that we had talked about was on the side of the street where all these cars are right now, we could post some signs for no parking Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. That way you're still leaving your weekends open, you're still leaving your nights open for any events, any restaurants, anybody coming to our city. Post signs on this side for delivery vehicles only. That way any delivery vehicles for any of the businesses around there, they can park along there, deliver what they need to, and then move on.
they
That
ain't
was
got
one of
any
the
other
options.
place to deliver.
Well, because there's nowhere else that they
There's
can
no,
park.
those places, they can,
They
there's
can't
no
stop
place
on
else they can
53.
park to deliver.
No, they can't stop on 53. They can't block the alley because then cars can't get around them at all. I mean, this is where they have to go to do their deliveries.
They can't come up the back alley and go into their own parking lot?
Those trucks would never make that turn.
It's a very small parking lot. I will say I have a business that also has a small parking lot. These trucks, it's very tight for them to get around. So that truck is pretty limited and, you know, that business is dependent on that. I would say we'd have a different situation if City Place did not have ample parking, but they have several parking lots. Plus they have a lot immediately behind that building if someone has mobility issues. So it seemed to me as part of the roads committee that it would not be limiting that facility too much to curtail the parking on those specific hours that wouldn't impact.
If we have a meeting over there of general public or merchants or whatever, then we're gonna have to go all the way over to that parking lot, park, and then walk all the way back, and this other guy's gonna get to park his truck right there and unload. That's all I gotta say.
I'm not sure where else he would park to unload. Where would you have him park to unload? I mean, I'm just curious.
He could bring a smaller truck or else get into that parking lot, and he should be able to get into that parking lot.
There's bigger trucks that come down here to deliver though also. There's full semi trucks that come down that road to deliver, and there's no way they could fit in that parking lot.
To that same place?
They do that, and I don't know what City Place gets delivered. I'm sure they have deliveries at City Place also. So that's my presentation. That's the issue, and I'm hoping that you guys can help solve it.
Well, if City Place didn't have all the parking over there, it would be different. Anytime I go down to a meeting at City Place, there's very seldom anybody parked inside those gates behind there. You know, just went down there to Coffee Talk the other morning, and nobody was parked back there. It was empty. Everybody wanted to park here so they can immediately jump out and walk in. You know it?
Right.
It's, you know, if you go to the mall and it's packed, you can't get in the front door, you know? I just don't understand why you can't, anybody can walk across the street. It's not that far from their parking lot.
Yes, but the truck driver was expecting the same thing, to be able to jump out of his truck and deliver it, and then come on back and get his truck and leave.
Well, that's why
Stephanie,
we're
who owns
presenting
the-
it to you guys.
Who owns the dirt next to the liquor store?
City right away.
I mean, could we move the street closer to their building if they want their beer delivered? I mean,
That's a
you
ditch,
know,
that's a grassy, sort of like a ditch line that carries water down the street.
yeah, I mean, I don't see a sidewalk there like there is over
That's
next to
parking
City
lot,
Place.
curb on the parking lot.
Yeah, the city right away next to the building, you mean? I see
Yeah.
there's a pole there. You can see a pole, a power pole, right behind the truck. And I know that's on this side of the alley. I'm sure it's on this side of the alley. So
Well,
I don't know if that would
they
work or
can
not.
move poles. I mean, it seems like the vendor is got the problem. City Place, I mean, that's a public street. Cars to park.
We're trying to be business friendly and we want our businesses to get their deliveries. If they don't get their deliveries, they don't have the product to sell, and then they'll move on somewhere else.
I went down there myself. I'll tell you what I did. I went down there myself today, and I told Stephanie what I'd done to talk to the chamber people, and Rosendo was not in. Rosendo was the campus director for City Place Properties. And where are we, Stephanie?
So here's all the board liquors right here.
That's all aboard, but I wish I had a pointer. Do you have a pointer here?
Where do you want me to point to?
Well, I'll come there. I'll come there and point. Oh, if I can walk. I want to show you what, and I'm just trying to keep some downtown parking to businesses as much as we can, but I don't know if the council would think this is appropriate. See how you work this thing. Where am
Right
I?
there, you just point it.
Huh?
Right there's,
Yeah, right here. I don't even know which way I'm going.
right here,
Where, here?
the City
Oh,
Place,
here.
yes.
Okay, my proposal was to come away from this intersection, give two specific, marked off parking places. I'm having trouble pointing this thing.
Here, I know what you're talking about. Let me point it. I'll point it for you.
I want
He wants-
back off the intersection and give them two defined spaces right there, and those two defined spaces would come about to the back edge of the City Place building, so we get two defined spaces there all day long. And then, once you get past those two defined spaces, I marked it off today, it's about 80 feet from that front of that second car, from the first car in the second space, all the way down to that crosswalk right there, 80 total feet. Thus, if the beer truck pulls up right there at All Aboard Liquor's entrance, there's going to be a ability for the people to maneuver safely around the truck. So it's going to be a wide area through there.
Not allow any parking here.
Yeah, no parking whatsoever between that second position and all the way down to the crosswalk. And then if you want to give a couple more spaces below the crosswalk before you get down to the Second Street intersection, you give a couple more. What I was trying to say was, if an economic site consultant comes to City Place to speak to David Bazanis, the chamber, about a project coming to Grange, they could park in either one of those two spaces, total of 4, possibly on the street, instead of back here in the back, go in, do their business, come back out. I don't know if the council feels that's a trade-off or you just want to eliminate the whole thing, but I was trying to say, I don't know how long City Place has been there, how many, 7 years? How long is it, why is this situation just now coming up 7 years later? You know?
Because the delivery trucks are getting bigger.
Well, no, it's the same beer truck.
No, they had a smaller one before. I've seen it out there.
So anyway,
So, you know, the idea was, or just allow parking here and no parking here. There's got to be some sort of resolution so that we don't have
Like a good compromise.
cars
Eliminate some
turning
of
and
them
parking.
Designate, you know, delivery vehicle only,
Mm-hmm.
and then from 9 to 5, and then, you know, free parking for the rest of the other.
So if I'm making a delivery, I can pull in that spot over there myself in my car and go into the liquor store.
Sure, if you're making a delivery, if you're a delivery truck.
I'm delivering money.
Sure, if you're making a delivery. If you're delivering Girl Scout cookies, right? You're delivering something.
See. I mean, that's a good compromise. Clear some of the street, not all of it, so that if there's just 2 or 3 people coming, they can park close, you know, but in a big event, you're gonna be, just like anywhere else, in a larger event, you'd be.
And again, on the evenings and weekends, when we have big events there and weekends, it won't be an issue. They can park wherever they want. We don't have to worry about it.
What was the committee recommendation?
The committee recommendation was Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no parking on the north side. Deliveries only all the time on the other side, but no parking Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. For the whole length of it.
The space for deliveries, would it have a time limit, like 30 minutes or an hour? Like, not
Well,
that
I
they
don't
just
even
can
think
park
they
there all
really-
day?
I don't think they take that long.
they're in there and out.
I'm-
They're in there and out.
Okay, hear me out. I'm not,
They don't,
okay, just hear me out. I'm not saying the liquor only is gonna be the only delivery truck there. The City Place could also have deliveries for an event or something and park their delivery truck there for 8 hours of the whole day. So I'm not just looking at it from the perspective of all aboard liquors.
Well,
Good point,
one
especially if there's an
ordinance
event
says
going
no
on.
parking for more than, on an 18-wheel, do you get 18-wheel trucks? 18
Yes.
It says no parking for more than 2 hours on any city street.
But I see what Trey's saying. If there's an
Go
event going
3.
on and a van pulls up to deliver their craft items that they're gonna sell the weekend, are they gonna be able to park there all day or 30 minutes in and out? It's a good point.
Chief Colette's here. Greg, Chief, you want to get in on this discussion, please, if you'd like to?
No.
And I'll let Corey get in onto it too, since it's a city-maintained street. Yes, sir.
I guess the
Chief.
best I can expand on it, we do have periodic complaints probably in the last 2-3 months. Maybe had 2 call-ins and 1 person come by the office about the restriction of traffic flow through there. And it is primarily a daytime problem when those vehicles are parked next to City Place and there is a delivery occurring there at the liquor store. So, I mean, it's been a source of complaints, not a daily complaint, but obviously there's a problem. And of course, my own observations, delivery vehicles are not there for a long period of time, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, we could encounter that when City Place has its events going on there. So, you know, the issue being, if there is long-term commercial vehicle parking there, we have to look at, will it limit our emergency response for a fire apparatus or something like that? Nobody wants to be in the business of trying to track down a truck driver to aid a fire response or an EMS response to that location. So I can tell you what's our impacts have been, but, you know, I was not aware of how much attention this was getting to reach a remedy.
Corey, Rusnak, you have any comments from Public Works on this street elimination of parking?
Nothing major. I was actually trying to figure out how wide the road is right there.
26 feet.
26 feet?
I stepped it off today 3 feet at a time, so I
little
came up about
shy.
26 feet.
That's the problem. You have your tractor trailer, which I'd say your smallest delivery trailer is probably 36 feet, which they can't get in the parking lot. It's too tight. Even down the alley, their building's too close. So I think one way or another, you're gonna have to allow deliveries on Washington Street. There's no way around that. Unless you designated a spot that they can deliver, the first 2 spots, like you're talking on the first block, as long as they typically park east of their lot there so they can go right into the entrance, which is pretty much right across the street where you talk about the first 2 spots. So unless you had the city place spots further down past their first sidewalk, which is about, I don't know, 90 feet to the west, you would almost have to designate their parking for them. So because the back of the truck, they'll park right at the entrance, right there at All Aboard Liquors.
Actually, the truck, Danny told me Dave pulls in off 53, moves to the left-hand side of the street. One of the trucks, I think Budweiser, he's got 2 different deliveries on 2 different days. And that truck will go just beyond his entrance to All Aboard Liquors and stop on the
Let's
left-hand
see.
side of the street going west.
This
Where
one,
this thing
like the
turns.
first one here. Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
that's the right way to park,
right, that's a Corona.
and that's the wrong way. It's an
Right,
illegal park, right?
right.
You can't park that way on the street. So they would have to maneuver back through Second Street to get up to park the right way or down from Main, whatever. I don't know what the resolve would be. I think the proposal from
Think
committee,
what?
the proposal from the committee seemed the most logical to me, but if a truck's only there for 30 minutes out of the day, you're not allowing parking just for 30 minutes.
And I don't know if it holds true every week, but during the pre-plan for the CSX project, I spoke with Mr. Doty, and at that time, for that week, he only expects 3 trucks of the shorter tractor-trailer accommodations per week. I don't know if that changes week to week, but I know during that week, because we had to limit commercial traffic, he only expected 3 of those type of vehicles, commercial vehicles that you see there for that week, so.
I'm not sure if they have a set schedule on when they actually do their deliveries, if you could make them have a set schedule. Mondays only, I don't know. Maybe something to talk to All Aboard Liquors about.
No, I don't think they have any set schedules. They don't have set schedules, don't have the same drivers or anything. It just depends on when they get there.
I'd say he could probably set it up though, right?
What?
As far as when he gets his deliveries.
That's
He
tough.
made it sound he was kind
That's
of at their
tough.
mercy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Tough. I mean,
They tell me when they're coming, and we fit in on their schedule. Since LaGrange is between Louisville and Cincinnati, a lot of times it's just where you fit in.
So that they can't stay parked, you can put loading and unloading only like they do at the airports. You can't park there, you can just drop people off and pick people up, like to
Right.
eliminate the.
I mean, like I said, you could make a pull off over here on the side, but on whose dime? Should the city provide that?
when you say pull off on the side, where were you pointing to?
For a delivery vehicle on the south side, on All Aboard Liquor side, you have enough grass here.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I mean, the road's about 4 feet too narrow.
You don't need them up that close at the intersection anyway, probably, would you?
That's where he is parking.
Huh?
That's typically where your delivery, right here. He's parking in front of that. I don't know if I got this the right way.
Well, he's parking in front of the entrance to All Aboard.
Right.
And then a
Well,
little
he's
further
to
back.
this way. He's in the grassy area.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up above that entrance.
And it's understandable how it's
Right.
positioning there, because they have to use the lift off the back of the truck, and
Right.
they're using
They run right
hydraulic
up in the parking
assist to push. It's not like they're hand carrying boxes, they're using the lifts to get the merchandise inside the store, and the
So-
dollies.
As far as from Public Works point, I don't think, I mean, I have no issues either way. We can provide signs if you want signs, or parking if you.
Going down the hill the way they're parked over by the, city place and put them in, let them park on the right-hand side, truck it off. If he's got a lift that takes it off and he wheels it over there, it's no big deal.
But how does he park there if it's full of cars?
Well, you don't, but, or down in front, going down, nobody parks below the grassy area, on down to the corner.
Oh, there's times I go through there and that whole thing, yeah, it's, I've got another picture showing further down where it's completely parked.
So you just dismobile 10 people for one person.
I mean, they'll park all the way down, the whole length of the street.
I make the motion to move forward with the committee's recommendation to not allow parking on the north side and to allow a designated loading and unloading portion on the south side.
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Trey, second by Andrea. Any discussion, further discussion on the motion before the council?
I think you're choosing sides.
Hmm?
I think you're choosing sides. I don't think it's right. I don't think what you're doing is right. That's my opinion.
Let me just say one thing about that. You know, I might not already go here, but I'm going there anyway. Do you realize the revenue we get out of all aboard liquors?
I really don't care.
I do. That's revenue into the city.
I think that
That's a business. Do you know how much revenue we get out of City Place? It's a foundation. We don't get anything out of City Place. I respect City Place. I respect Mr. George Rawlings. But you've got to take care of the businesses, the brick and mortars that bring money into this city. You know, Mr. Rawlings has been nice and helped us out. He's bought police cruisers and that and whatever. But it still doesn't amount to the amount of revenue that comes out of all aboard liquors. So that's who we need to take care of, is our businesses that puts revenue into this city.
So that brings about a
So
question.
that's-
May I have my customers park in the crosswalk? Shall I
So-
wait here, please?
Same. No one can park in a crosswalk. We're not talking about crosswalk.
Well, nobody should be parking on the street where you can't get by either.
That's a duplicate problem. We've got vehicles with City Place and a commercial vehicle restricting traffic.
Mayor, I'll call for the question on the vote,
Okay, we
please.
got a motion.
They can't park them all the way down in front of City Place.
Andrew's already
and
seconded.
then pull his-
It's the motion on the floor in a second.
It wouldn't be a problem.
He's calling for the
Okay.
question.
All right. Trey's call for the question. I've learned in Robert's Rules of Order that to end discussion on the discussion, there has to be a vote to end the discussion. So I'm going to take a vote for Trey's call on the question to end all discussion. So that being said, Stephanie, would you call the roll to end discussion?
Trey,
Yes.
Mary's not here. Leslie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
And this is on
Elsie.
what specifically?
This is to end all discussion of the,
Vote
on the,
yes on that?
well, you don't get to speak anymore if you end discussion. You understand
Well, I
that?
won't anyway.
Okay,
Andrea,
Yes.
Yes.
okay, it's unanimous. So the motion passes for Trey's. He's got a motion on the table, second by Joe.
No, Andrea
Okay,
seconded.
so Andrea seconded. We have a motion on the table. I'd like to discuss it, but can't. But I put a suggestion on the table for consideration. I'm not going to discuss it, so we got a motion, a second. Let's do a roll call vote. And you got to understand, the only way I vote is in case of a tie. So let's go ahead with it.
Trey,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Elsie,
Absolutely no.
Andrea,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes to restrict the parking on Second Street, and it'd be posted in Washington Street. Yes, sir, West Washington. Okay, thank you all for that. We have a resignation tonight from the Grange Tourism Board. It comes from Nikki Green. I put the resignation letter in your all's packets, or someone did, Heather or whoever, we all put the packets together. But she basically told me that she's committed for like the next 4 meetings, and certainly appreciated the idea of sitting on this commission, but evidently her work is just too much for her to be involved. So I'd like for someone to make the motion to accept Nikki Green's resignation.
So moved. Seconded.
Made by Trey, second by Leslie Wright. All those in favor of the motion, let me know I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Appointment that I've talked to this particular lady, Taryn Winsky. She pretty much says that she knows all of you and each of you, and you would know her. I had her in, we talked for quite some time. She gave you a little, some form of a resume bio on herself. I don't know who knows and who doesn't, but she's been a member of Main Street for many, many years. Supposedly, her husband served on downtown Main Street for 14 years. She's active in the business, and plus she says she also does things for the company that she noted in her bio or resume. So would anybody like to make the motion to approve Taryn Winsky to sit on the tourism board to finish out Nikki Green's term?
I'd like to do that.
Okay, motion made by Elsie. Is there a
second.
second by Andrew Essen Price. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. Mayor Lamline will recuse. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We have one recusal. Thank you, Mayor Lamline. Okay, next item you had in your packets was a contract for combined government surplus auction with Oldham County. I want to say that Kevin Nuss with the judge's office, I think, approached,
Are you gonna do number
I'm sorry, what's that?
17?
Okay, 18,
17.
17. I just did it.
Just did 17.
Aaron Winsky just made a motion to approve her. Okay. Now we're on to 18, sorry. Once again, I want to forward this to you all. It comes from the Department of Local Government. It talks about the Consumer Price Index for the past year, and you all are certainly entitled to receive that index. You probably would have received the same thing last year that you received this year, and it might add up to a total of 5%, but you all last year just decided not to act on it at all. But I did want to bring this to the council table for consideration, and it would give council members a 2.3% increase as well as the mayor. But does anyone want to act on this tonight or just leave it alone? You all can make up as far as $77,000 if you want to raise it to that, as can the mayor, but that's dollars compared to $1949, as if you had taken the cost of living index since 1949, you could be making $77,000. But would you like to discuss this at all, or just let it die for discussion?
I don't want to discuss it, Mayor. I'll put that out for myself.
Okay.
So, anybody else wants to?
Anyone else have
fine,
any
but
comments?
I'm not.
Would anybody like to discuss, if you're not going to discuss this, would you like to discuss the increase in the council pay for the next election that you're going to be voting on, taking as of January 1st of next year?
As long as we don't have to pay to be on here, I'm good with what it is now.
Anybody want to discuss that?
What did you say, Elsie?
I said, does anyone want to discuss an item in relation, well, that's not on the agenda, but if you,
asking Elsie what she had said.
I just said that as long as they don't try to make us pay to be on the city council,
Oh.
I'm very pleased with what we
Okay,
make. I
okay.
am, but that's just me.
okay. So no further discussion on any of that, okay? Now we're moving on to 19. We have a contract before you in your packet. It's basically us joining in with Oldham County government. It's going to have a pretty large size auction at the county property in Buckner. We've got a number of items to sell, but I wanted the council to approve our contribution to Timberlake Auction Service, which he'll charge us 10% of the gross amount on any products that he sells for the city of LaGrange. That's a 10% commission. So anyone like to approve that? We're hoping to have a pretty big turnout for the auction, and between Corey Rusnick and Chief Collette, they have submitted items to be considered surplus. So who would be willing to approve the contract for us to enter into with Timberlake Auction Service? Anyone?
I'll make a motion, prove it, Mayor.
Motion made by Joe Davenport. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Elsie Carter. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, everyone's for it. Cool. Okay, and then the items for surplus, you have those in your packet. Chief Collette is trying to get rid of some vehicles, some confiscated vehicles, and hopefully we can do that at the auction. Some other items, Corey Rusnick has a lot of things here he's listed to, evidently he has no more use for and would like to get them surplus and sold. So anyone approve the surplus auction item list? Anyone make a motion to approve the items to be sold?
Second.
Motion made by Andrea S. M. Price, second by Trey Kamer. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, any committees like to say any, report anything tonight at all? Or is everyone sort of worn out? Anyone like to bring anything up at this point?
Yeah, I'll quickly touch on a few things. So the Personnel Insurance Boards and Commissions Committee met on February 26th, and we had continued discussion of the LaGrange City Hall Employee Handbook. We will meet again on March 25th at 5 o'clock at City Hall to continue discussions over the LaGrange City Hall Employee Handbook. 5 o'clock. Also, the Buildings, Budget, Finance, and Utilities Committee met on February 26th at 6 o'clock. We had presentations from the Chamber and Economic Development, Main Street, and LaGrange Tourism Commission. They each gave great presentations of their visions and as far as the funding goes, we did ask, or there was a request for some additional funding that we will consider from the chamber. And that committee will also meet on, it'll meet next week, March 11th at City Hall at 4:30.
Okay. Thank you, Trey. As he said, they've had three or so entities show up during their first budget meeting, and we had one planned for this Wednesday, but Trey's come up unavailable for that meeting, so we're going to push it out a week. Correct, Trey?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else like to comment on a committee you're serving with or on?
Yes, the rewriting the guidelines for historic district, we're still working on them. I figure, it looks like to me, maybe we can get it done next week, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor Lamline, within that guidelines committee work task force, will the committee is going to consider maybe amending the appointments to the commission in terms of things that have come up in the last few weeks or anything about residency or anything like that?
I think we need to talk about that. Again, that's not in the guidelines, that's an ordinance issue, which the city council would have to decide what they want to do with that. But I think we do need to look at it because obviously there's some issues on that commission. And I do think we need to look at it and talk about maybe making some changes.
Okay. All right. Well, as your committee works through that, maybe you'll maybe be able to discuss some changes that can be amended into it.
We can do that. Thank you, John.
Okay. All right. Anyone else on a committee tonight? Anybody would like to bring up any unfinished business that you'd like for the city to take up or consider?
I had another question come to me from a constituent about the left arrow at 146 and 53. It was on the agenda last time for new business. I was just wondering if there was any update.
There's not at this time, Andrea. I personally have had to watch. I've tried to watch that signal, and myself, so I would be making sure I understand exactly what's taking place. But I understand you don't get a designated left-hand green if that's what we're after, regardless whether. But I haven't seen any traffic backing up. Are we seeing traffic actually back up?
I'm not sure it's about backing up. If you're heading westbound on Jefferson Street, okay,
Going
and
this
if there's any vehicle that's wanting on the opposite side going east,
Right.
wanting to turn left, you can't see around that vehicle to know whether you should go or not. It's dangerous, and I'm telling you, somebody's going to get hurt.
So the issue is, our issue or your constituents' issue is getting a left-hand dedicated green for so many seconds to give a first 2 or 3 cars the opportunity to get through, regardless what the traffic count is. Okay. Well, okay. If that's the issue, I'll press that to Matt Bullock in the morning. Okay. Any more unfinished? Any new business?
Mayor, I got something I'd like to bring forth.
Okay.
The month of March is opportunity to personally thank and honor Vietnam War veterans and their families. To thank and honor our Vietnam War veterans and their families who so richly deserve recognition for their service and sacrifice during the war. Most of them wasn't thanked when they got back and returned from the conflict. I can vouch for that. When I came back and was brought back to Travis Air Force Base, San Francisco for discharge, we went through debriefing the next day, and we actually had no communication with outside world at all. We were fortunate to get a letter from home. It wasn't like, we didn't have internet and all they have now. So the first thing they told us, which all of us that was returning from Vietnam War just looked at each other because we hadn't had a clue. The thing that they told us said, the one of y'all that just getting discharged today and are flying commercial flights back home, said, we recommend you don't wear your uniform. Said, you're not liked. They don't like you. So anyway, this is like a welcome home. And the president in 2017 signed into law the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act, establishing, the National Vietnam War Veterans Day, and that is observed every March the 29th. So this is a month to just say, welcome home, Vietnam veterans. Thank you for your service. And the ones that don't realize that there was over 58,000 Americans lost in the Vietnam War. So this just to let everybody know that the month of March is Vietnam Veterans Month, and March the 29th is the day. So thank y'all.
Why, Joe, how come the soldier got told why was it they weren't welcome back home? Why was that?
They said that actually that the Americans was, they actually called it like a living room war or something, and all the protests, and they said they just didn't like the Vietnam veterans. I don't know what we done wrong. I've never researched it. As far as I'm concerned, 50 years ago, I made it back. So. That was enough for me to not be one of the 58,000 and one to come home with all of my parts, for better saying. So, I was just glad to be back on American soil. So why we wasn't liked, or I don't know. I've never researched it. So anyway, just let you know that this is a welcome home in the month of March, and this is actually out of the American Legion magazine. And the American Legion is reaching out and making sure that all of them gets honored, and the title of it is Welcome Home, is what it is. So I just wanted to make that public. So
I appreciate Joe and appreciate you serving in Vietnam. There were two guys I remember standing on Main Street talking to. Denny Hall was one of them. He got killed in Vietnam.
Yeah.
His mother worked at the drugstore here. And then Eddie Rankin, who was Dip Rankin's older brother. Eddie was killed in Vietnam. He and they both were killed right about the same time. And I used to see him on Main Street here on the Grange outside the drugstore. But,
yeah, when you're in a smaller town like this, I know Greensburg, where I grew up, 3 of my close friends didn't make it back, so.
Okay, well, we'll try to remember that on March the 29th for sure, and the week of.
Yeah, the month of March is actually the welcome home, and March the 29th is actually the day that the president declared it National Vietnam War Veterans Day. Is March the 29th of every year.
Okay.
One more thing, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
On the 14th, that's on a Saturday, at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're having a open public comment and review of the Springs Park plans.
It'll be held where? At the library?
Library,
Okay.
10 a.m.
Okay. Anyone else have any further announcements you'd like to make to the general public about anything? We'll tell the council tomorrow at 3:30 in a room across the hallway is going to be a project development board meeting about the courthouse project, where it stands, how that's coming along. So if any of the council would like to come to that, it's open meeting, 3:30 tomorrow. You're welcome to listen.
Mayor, can I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
I've had several people over the last few weeks ask me if there's anything that the city, well, first they questioned why the city was tearing down the courthouse. I told them that that's not a city initiative. Is there anything, I guess the next question I was asked, is there anything that the city council or mayor could do to change the mind of that committee? I don't know of anything that could happen at this point. Do you have a comment on that?
My only comment would be, I do know that the State Historical Preservation Group from Frankfurt, their group was in here like a week or so ago, at least about a week or so. They viewed the courthouse. They went under it, on top of it, in the roofs, rafters of it, trying to determine what is original, how original is what you see today, things like that, and what interrelation they're going to have with the administrative office, the courts, if any. I don't know how that Frankfurt network will work once they appeared here, so I think that's something we could maybe hear tomorrow. And basically what that was intended to do was, could the design of the courthouse incorporate some of what we see standing there today?
Okay.
That's all I can say about that.
Okay. What time was the meeting?
3:30 tomorrow.
3:30 tomorrow. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
The room across the hallway. Anyone have any happy news? Anything? I want to compliment Joe Davenport, health-wise. He's concentrating on losing a few pounds, and he's doing it. He's just recently had his eyes made to be a 15-year-old set of eyes, and so he's seeing good, and he's losing weight.
Trying to get the body to catch up with 15-year-old.
And Mayor Lamline's doing good. We hope so.
Yep.
Mayor Lamline's been through a lot of stuff in the last 6 months or year. So we all pray for good health. We all pray for a kind city.
Right.
We all pray to be good people, and
Debbie Pollard too.
pray for Debbie Pollard. She's recuperating from a tough knee replacement, so she can't be with us tonight. I did get a text from Mary Bolton just a little bit ago and said she has a severe migraine and was just not going to be able to be here tonight. I especially want to thank Heather and Stephanie over this auditing thing tonight. As I said previously, it's a tremendous amount of understanding to get in these books what these auditors want and expect, and we're going to work on that. I don't think I was going to get a chance maybe to let Dr. Hazelton speak, because you heard about what he said in reference to the golf course, how that golf course is operating, and I think the Hazelden and Dr. Hazelden and the board of directors of the golf course, they do all they can to generate the revenue that they do, and it's tough these days and times to operate a golf course. So I don't know what Dr. Hazelden felt about the review and the remarks of that. So anyway, Mr. Craig Mile, you have anything to bring to the council of worthwhileness tonight?
Not that's worthwhile.
Mayor, these financial interest disclosure statements was in our packet. Do you want those, Stephanie? Yes, please. I'll give you mine now.
Keep passing out thank yous. Corey does a great job. Chief Gillette, Stephanie Winther, Marianne Smith, Marianne's doing well, so glad to see her tonight. I don't know the young lady in the left-hand corner back there. I'm not sure who she is, but she's, who? Ray's wife. Okay, well, nice to have you here tonight. Good to see you. Good to see you. And otherwise, if no one else has anything, you got something, Andrea?
I have one little thing. Just kind of in regards of what Sandy said about looking at the positive side versus maybe the glass less empty. I did note that the auditor said that we had 4 findings last year, and this year we have 2. So I want to say good job to Stephanie and Heather and whoever else made that happen. That's great.
We don't hire people yet, and that's what they're grading everything on, okay? So we don't.
But that went down, so that is good.
Well, they work tremendously hard, and like I say, what they've had to work with Kevin on to do these things at the year end, even into the next fiscal year, to push them back in the previous fiscal year, has just been unbelievably tough and difficult. But I think having done that this time, they're going to understand it much more better this time next year. So that's the good news. Okay.
Well, maybe we can replace him and save the money for him if we wave our magic wand and make CPAs out of all the people in the city hall.
Well, yeah, right. Anyone else have anything? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Leslie, second by who? Second by Andrea. Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed?